G'day, hey, hi, and welcome. TGIF, toes going first. And also, thank God it's Friday. Okay, so this week we go crazy. Yes, we're getting kind of carried away with these things, aren't we? Well, I'll ride the wave as long as I can. I'm sure I'm doomed now, but okay. So I still haven't had a chance to go through all the World Economic Forum stuff because it really comes down to two men, Trump and Carney, right? Uh, Carney on the world stage is kind of got everybody on his side, right? Whether you like that or don't like that, that's not the issue. It's the way, you know, it looks, it's the optics, right? Trump is just viewed as a bully because actually he is. Like, like that's not taking a jab at Trump. It's literally his method of doing stuff is bullying people, right? Like, it's what he does. It's like, even he probably would admit it at some point. Uh, so there's a lot of chaos on the Greenland issue, and everybody has something to say about it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And of course, perspective is everything, right? So apparently, the New Deal with Greenland has some people in the camp of, see, I told you he wasn't going to invade. It was a nothing burger. It was just a 5D chess negotiation, blah, blah, blah. See, you were silly to overreact. Then the other is like exactly what can you trust with this guy, right? Like, you can't make a deal with the Americans because you can't trust them right now, right? Is what it is, right? So then there's my perspective, and I'm like, okay, am I wrong? Are they right and I'm wrong? Okay, well let's analyze this, okay? And this is never about me being right or wrong. It's about, okay, well, what are we looking at? Okay, so if you just remember just the last couple of this week in world crazies, what have I said? What have I talked about? What was one of my predictions for this year? Military coups, right? Everywhere, right? And we've already, like, we're not even through January yet. We've already got like several military coups. Like the whole Venezuelan thing is to be determined whether Maduro was in on it or not, right? Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. My hunch is that if you're going to sell out your country and give the oil your resources, like one of your most precious resources, like that Venezuelan oil Venezuela should be like a fucking kingdom. You know what I mean? Uh, but you could say that just about anywhere. It's like I was watching I Hypocrite last night with Paul. What the hell's his name? Gypsy Crusader and Lily Giddis, however you say her name. Anyway, okay, whether you like these people or not is not the issue. But they did make a good point about something. About they were showing some like footage of real feral Africans in Africa. And there's one guy, like, I don't know, was he a headhunter, whatever? Like, big throw up like this. He's got a spear. His eyes are like huge, like just completely psychotic looking, right? And it's just like, he stops the frame on that. It's like, this is why Africa is the way it is. You know what I mean? And it's like there's truth there, and it's like you always get this. Our hypocrite was talking about, for example, how like his brother-in-law or whatever, like they're progressives, right? So obviously they don't like what he does, and he's like, it dawned on him that these people think that the Africans are held back not only because of white people, but because they have no resources. And it's like Africa is like the most resource continent on the planet. Like, okay, Canada might be the most resource country in the world by its own country, but overall, if you just judge it by anything and everything, like Africa again should be just full of kingdoms, right? And so people make the place is what I'm getting at. So if you're going to give away all your oil to the United States and just give it away to them, maybe get paid a few $1 million or whatever. the people are going to rise up and kill you, right? They're going to kill you, and you're going to kill your family. They'll probably overthrow the government themselves, and then you got this chaos. And then who owns the resources, right? Well, I know who would come in right away. It'd be the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians and the North Koreans, right? Because they get oil from there, or they did, right? So the United States, and the more I think about this, this makes sense. The United States is not going to actually do anything with the Venezuelan oil. The idea is just to make sure that Russia and China don't get it. That's what it is. Like, I mean, over time, maybe in the next 10 years, they might do something with it. But the idea is so that it's not that they can, because like the gas prices at the pumps in the States are still going up. Like this whole, oh, we're in recovery. It's not. Like one end of the country to the other. I think you might get a little tick down, but like, so people are like, okay, gas was like $2.17 last week. This week it's a buck 2.37. You know what I mean? Where's all this big saving? And of course, people expect immediate results on anything. Not understanding that it takes years to mess things up, but it takes decades to restore. Right? That's always the way it is. That's why you got to have a bit of a long-term mindset towards things. No, I have not seen Pierre Poilievre's response to Carney's speech. I watched Carney's speech and I'll judge for myself. Now, I'm sure Pierre will come up with some good critiques. I have no doubt about that. But opposition for the sake of opposition isn't going to work anymore. We need real solutions. There's no doubt about that. And the guy in power is the guy you need to do the right thing. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter at this point of the game. Like, we are in really, really serious problems, especially if you look at the bond markets and stuff like that. Things are fucking melting down. I mean, you're getting these hyper stock market crashes. They just drop 1,000 points overnight for like a tweet. So like Trump is like kind of like, what does he do, right? He tweets and he fucks up and that's all he cares about is like Israel and the stock market, right? He doesn't care about Americans. I mean, he judges him by his actions, not by what he says, but by what he does. He doesn't care about the average American. He cares about the like all our politicians, they care about big business. That's it, right? The rest of the world's kind of catching up to the idea. Oh, by the way, cheers! I got some Kraken in there, some rum. 10:30 in the morning. I know. There's one finger. That's going to be my one little finger for the week, and I'm good. That's all I drink is like one little finger in the. I drink this much, basically, a week. That's it. Sacrilege. But anyway, so we're going to circle back to Greenland in a second. But the thing is that you have a situation where obviously a coup took place to allow the Americans to do the extraction, and that's exactly what it was. If you talk to any of the SEAL team guys, or X Forces guys, or Rangers, or whatever, they say that's exactly what you saw. All right. So obviously, inside information had to be there from, like, it was probably a deal made with her and or him or whatever. Okay, she's going to take power, but she's on board. But we got to make it look like so that the party could still stay in power. I was probably my guess is this: you could take Maduro, right? But you got to leave the government in power, because if you do like you did in Iraq and you get rid of the government, which again, Venezuela, like, new boss, same as your boss. It was, what I mean? Like, where was this big fucking save and rescue? It's nowhere to be seen. And the thing is that, what you call it? Yeah, obviously the Venezuelans probably would have said, yes, you could take out Maduro, you can make it look good, whatever. Don't kill too many of our people. If you go to overthrow us, we will shoot you down. We will do this. We will do that. We'll sink your navy. We'll do it'll be an actual war. So you can have this guy, you can have the oil, but that's it. That was probably and pay us handsomely. What are the kickbacks, right? So that's my guess. That's my guess is what's happened. But if it wasn't that, then it's okay. We went and stole Maduro because we gotta get a win, make Trump look like the strong man to the remaining of his MAGA base supporters that are actually. Again, I understand there's hyper loyalists in every group that no matter what will just double down on the 5D chess Q stuff. But like, I mean, probably 2/3 or 3/4 of his base is, throwing him on. They're like, yeah, we're not falling for it. Nobody asked him for that. So like, where's all the people cheering? Oh, we got rid of Maduro. Yeah, you just spent way more money that we don't have on something that nobody wanted, right? But that's the way Trump thinks. He thinks in this kind of grandiose, look, we look so strong on the world stage. He attacked a country that, that lets you do it. You know what I mean? Like it's either way, there was a coup. Either way, there was a coup. So the Venezuelan government threw Maduro under the bus. That's as clear as day. Whether the only question is, was he in on it too? That's the only question, right? It's like, even when you don't know, you know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so fucking obvious, right? But I say all that to say this. I'm starting to sound like Cameron McGregor. Is that if you look at what Trump is trying to... Okay, let's recap Trump's past year or so in office. It'd be a year this month or next month. Whatever, anyway. Comes out basically comes out swinging with the tariff war, right? And he just fucking goes scorched earth. Nobody wanted that. People were like, okay, yeah, if you want to use tariffs to encourage people to come back to the United States and manufacture back in the States, all the stuff Lutnick saying out in the camera at Davos there, sure, you're going to agree with 80% of it, because it's just like, yeah, I've been saying that up here in Canada. People have been saying that in Germany. People have been saying that in Ireland. They've been saying that in fucking UK. They've been saying that in the States. Yeah, everybody agrees we need to have more sovereignty. We need to have more domestic manufacturing. Yes, Lutnick is right when he says, all these globalists basically, oh, well, we always got to go after the cheapest thing and offshore everything and send all our manufacturing away, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, NAFTA sucks. we all agree. Right? But that's what he says there. Yeah. If you followed the guy for any length of time, you realize he's a slime ball. And again, it's not what it's this all things to all people, knowing how to like, he has to pander to the base, right? Because they're losing the base, so he still has to kind of dupe the MAGA people into thinking that they're fighting for them, right? And he has to save face for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is in a real lose desperate situation, right? So he goes on about how the auto manufacturers are making money hand over fist because of their tariff war, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. But what he's not telling you is the average American, God knows what it is up here, is paying an extra $15,000 to $20,000 a vehicle, right? So yeah, they're making profits, but yeah, the cost of everything just fucking skyrocketed, right? So that's not a win. And are they actually making profit? That's, like, if you could even believe that. Like, again, you can't believe anything these people say, because every time it's like they say something like that, and you're like, oh, see, we're winning. And then you go look at the actual data, and it's like, yeah, the company's in the red. You know what I mean? Oh, one guy gave us praise. Maybe that happened. Maybe it didn't. I mean, Trump will say things all the time that are not even, oh, yeah, we just made a deal with while he's sitting beside the guy. Yeah, we just made a deal on this, that, and it's like, it's not even fucking true. Like, the guy's sitting there going, what's he talking about? What deal was, like, you know what I mean? Why he does this, I guess his thinking is, if I say it out loud, there'll be pressure for him to fucking comply, right? But it doesn't work like that. It's just like, no. It's like, no, there was no deal made. This happened so many times already. So his track record for Trump is not good. It's just lies, right? And every time he does, it backfires and people get hurt. Who's the people that get hurt? It's the little guy. It's not the big corporations. They get bailouts. It doesn't matter. Wall Street never, they take a hit. And again, it's getting to the point where people are, realize that, like how Trump signals to the stock market, particularly like on a Friday or something like that. So like I say, we're going to get Iran strike tonight, tomorrow. I don't know. I don't think all the carrier groups are in place, but we're at that, on the DEFCON system. That's, the public one. We're at DEFCON 5, or 4, just so you know. Just because it's so most likely, like, attack is coming somewhere from the United States. We just don't know where it's going to be. Is it going to be in Greenland? Is it going to be up here in Canada? Is it going to be, Venezuela again? Is it going to be Cuba? Is it going to be Iran? Is it going to be, where the fuck are they going to hit, right? So everybody knows it's coming. It's just when's it coming, you know? So Trump with his 4D chess moves, it's like, okay, either just go for it or call it off because, you know, the jig's up. So if everybody else in the world kind of can figure out that like an attack's coming, you don't think the Iranians aren't fucking prepared? You know, and I think this time around, it's like the Iranians are probably just going to go, look, the Mossad CIA coup attempt, you know, orange revolution in Iran, it's failed. It's like I say, you can't take out Iran that way. The Israelis already know this. They've already admitted that they can't take out Iran using like protests and stuff like that because the Iranians just fucking stomped down so hard. So how many people got killed this time with the Americans? Probably, yeah, we're coming. Yeah, the Mossad's right there beside you. Don't worry, you got this, and people get killed thinking that they did the same thing to the Iraqis. Yeah, you keep fighting Saddam, just keep fighting Saddam. You remember the SDF, the U.S. backed SDF in Syria, the ones fighting Assad's guys? Yeah, well, now that Assad's gone, right, and they've got the ISIS guy running Syria. Again, he was in the top 10 terrorists, on the CIA's watch list, and suddenly, oh yeah, no, he's a good guy. We'll fight him to the White House. Like, you can't even make this up. Like, you can't even fucking make that up. Like, here is like the most prominent fucking ISIS leader in the fucking White House. Oh, he's a good guy. Like, I mean, like fucking clown world or what, right? Again, so now they're going to throw the SDF, who was it, helped the Americans. So now they're going to just let the Turks kill them, I guess. And the ISIS guys, considering Israel, like again, Israel likes ISIS. They like it's openly admitted. It's not conspiracy. They just called them moderate rebels. But who were the 4,000 and 5,000, 6,000 groups of men, every couple of months being trained up in Omar and Jordan, particularly in Jordan and places UAE. Yeah, who are all these guys that they were training up? Well, those were the Al Nusra, Al Qaeda, Nusra Front guys, ISIS. You know what I mean? And again, ISIS was made up of like something like 1,100 different jihadi groups or something like that. It was all like little tribal areas, right? And but at the end of the day, who bankrolled it, right? It was the America and Israel predominantly, and then of course 40 other Western nations also do it too. So our hands are dirty too, just so you know. So anyway, let's move on. So everybody getting thrown under the bus, whatever. The tariff wars backfired. The idea, I guess, behind the tariffs was to use that money to pay down the deficit. It was a way of raising taxes to slow down the debt, right? But the problem is the debt's just a runaway train right now. There, without any sort of austerity taking place, really. I mean, yes, Trump with the Doge was stepping in the right direction, not the right way, but in the right direction with the Doge. But because Elon, said something and the faggot got the orange faggot got butthurt, he calls off, like, rather than protect this country and say, you know what, okay, I don't like what he said, but I'll let it slide because the greater good is that I balance the budget for my country. No, Doge is off. So $190 billion saved, pretty impressive. But it was like something like $800 billion spent on 7 airplanes to bomb Iran. It's just fucking stupidity. God knows what the Venezuelan raid cost. You know what I mean? Like that was what 15,000 people and the 150 aircraft and warship fight. It's just fucking ridiculous, right? The Americans are on the hook for like $19 trillion to run their government, right? And they have to sell bonds to do this, which Japan is having problems right now. Because it's just people can't buy the U.S. debt anymore. You know what I mean? It's not working. There's only 2 ways to get rid of debt for the Americans, and that is bond yields or democracy JDAMs. Like they have to go to war to burn up the debt, right? It's the death and debt-based economy. Take our petrodollar or we drop democracy JDAMs on you, right? And remember, Venezuela didn't have a Rothschild central bank, right? So it's funny how all the countries that don't have Rothschild central banks get bombed the shit out of. Gee, but there's no connection there. That's conspiracy, I'm sure. Patterns are just conspiracy. That's all. But anyway, yeah. So moving on, yeah, the Americans are also, going into debt by about $1 trillion every 3 months, right? So then you have the government shutdown thing, right? Because Trump's tariff war wasn't working. The average person is just getting hit so hard. The farmers, again, were getting close to February. Let's see what those food prices are going to do. And that's not to mention if there's like tons of food shortage. The indicator to watch is food aid going to third world countries from the States. If you start seeing a pullback in that, like a massive pullback in that, then you know there's a critical food shortage in the United States. And that's not a money thing. That's not an inflation thing. That is unobtainium thing. If you don't have it, you can't eat. It doesn't matter how rich you are. And so we could see, at worst case scenario, a light Holodomor style starvation in the States, right? So obviously they better distract people very well. But on the other hand, it's like if you're lucky, it's just really high inflation on the food because of the shortages. So there's shortages no matter what. Like that's a guaranteed because of all the hits that basically Trump destroying the farmers, right? Maybe he's just doing it on behalf of Bill Gates. I don't know. It seems to be, but it's hard to say. But that said, the farmers that just couldn't get crops out this year is just record numbers. Very terrifying. So obviously, when Trump got in, his first target was us up here in Canada, and because Justin Trudeau was in a pro government, meaning nothing could get done. Our economy is was pretty much in the shitter. It's still pretty bad, but it's improving in areas, right? And of course, Trump's thinking is, well, the Canadian economy is like 50 to 75% hooked to us. If I make a hint of a threat, the Canadians will just fold right away. And wouldn't you fucking know it, Justin Trudeau? Fuck you, make me. The guy everybody hates so much says, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not going to just cave into your demands. We're not going to become the 51st state. Go fuck yourself, right? And this starts to become the theme. Like it's Trump overplaying his hand here, right? He really just has no respect. Well, he hates Canada. It's as simple as that. The Trump administration hates Canada, and it's obvious, right? Like just let's make everybody suffer because we hate them. Become the 51st state or else. We're going to attack you economically. We won't answer the question whether we're going to use military force against you or whatever. And Trump is looking around the world, and of course, again, Americans a lot of times just dismiss Canada on every level because they don't understand it, and they just you can't just go by all the cheerleader hyperbolics and stuff like that. You have to have a real world look at things. The Canadian military has all kinds of problems, the same way the American military has. Although recruitment is up in Canada, every country, Western country, has a problem with the military. There's no doubt about that. Yes, the Canadian military is much smaller, but where the technology, most of our technology is on par with the Americans. It's just there's not as much of it, and there's a lot of areas where we're short, right? So whatever. But that's neither here nor there because it doesn't work like that. It helps, but the only way you take Canada is with boots on the ground. Good fucking luck. Like if you right now, you know how hard it is for me to just get to the road to the fucking front door here. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like you ain't going anywhere in an invasion this time of year. So that means it has to be a spring invasion, right? And it's just like in Ukraine, like late spring, early, like it's June before you can really roll tanks before the ground is dry, right? And the Ukraine, if you pay attention to the Ukraine, like, look, Canada's already in mobilization mode. And it's to the point where they have it out on the CBC and stuff like that. So that if they're talking about it on the CBC, they've already took it serious way back when Trudeau was still in power, right? So that means the Canadian military, which is now saying we're openly assessing what it would take to stop an American invasion, right? So what is this signaling? Well, it signals two things. It signals that, yes, we've heard you. Yes, we're taking it seriously. And we're doing something about it. Now, are they actually doing something about it? That's the question. Well, if you judge Mark Carney by his actions, yes. It's just the problem is doing something about it is like 10 years out. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we're going to get all new kinds of helicopters, including attack helicopters. We're going to get new warships are on the way. I mean, they're being built as we speak. We're going to have new submarines. We're going to have these over-the-horizon radar systems. And hopefully, they work as good as advertised. Because if they do, no one's going to be able to fuck with us. Not even the States. We'll see everything. Well, no. Again, that's why Trump is mad at Carney. It's like, well, what do you mean you're making deals with other people, right? So everything we do gets dismissed, even by many Canadians, because a lot of people just believe the rhetoric that we're just completely useless and we can't do anything without the States, right? And I understand it. But I grew up in a different time, guys. I grew up at a time before NAFTA, right? And that typewriter right there, for example, says "Made in Canada" on it, right? That was very common to me when I was a kid. You either was made in Canada, made in the United States, or made in Taiwan, and then very distantly made in Japan. NAFTA comes in 1991, ratified in 94, something like that, under Brian Mulroney. We start offshoring everything the same way the Americans did. America still has enough manufacturing to have a lot of made in America, right? But even at that, half the American products I buy are made in China. You know what I mean? Or Singapore, what do you call it? Indonesia, or anywhere but here, right? And the same with us. So we've offloaded everything to China. Now the problem is that back then we were still building everything up until the 90s. We were still building a shit ton of stuff. We had a shit ton of manufacturing here. And this was John Turner's critique to Brian Mulroney. And both men, in all honesty, were arguing in good faith, right? You can look at the 1988 federal debate between John Turner and Brian Mulroney and see how it aged. There's just the one clip I've seen. I mean, I remember it when I was a kid, but I don't remember what they were saying. I remember watching it. I don't know. My dad was watching it or whatever. But I remember seeing it. That's 1988, guys. That's a long time ago. Anyway, 1988, that was a good year. That was a good year for me. The 80s and 90s were, what a different world. What a different world. That's why, like, when my book 2060 Dystopia is finished, even if it's a shitty story, just read it. You know what I mean? Just read it. I will have some free ebooks on it. Maybe like 10 free ebooks at a time, and read it, because there's going to be so much in there that's just going to, like, fuck. But anyway, I digress. So we're at the point where I don't need to go play by play here, but that everything Trump does has a negative effect for Americans. The raid on Iran, negative effect to Americans, right? The raid on Maduro, no, but like again, just more debt, right? So by the time we get like the last past, say, month or so, Trump has really beat the war drum and ramped up the rhetoric on everything, right? And of course, everybody, people still dismissing what he's saying. Now, if you believe Lutnick out there in Davos going, look, we just said it just to get the deal, right? Okay, what's this massive, great 5D chess deal that all this chaos was worth? Threatening this country, threatening that country, but it was right after Trump said, never mind promising every Greenlander $10 million. Now, most people that are really, really paying attention have come up to, yeah, this is Trump taking over Greenland. It's like kind of like whichever president, bought Alaska, got Louisiana. He wants to go down in history as the guy who got Greenland, the biggest island in the world, right? Well, in the northern hemisphere anyway. I don't know, maybe Australia is bigger, I would imagine. It's hard to say. Nothing on that map is to scale, just so you know. Like the map you grew up with, it's not a scale map, right? It's like everything's much smaller, except for Africa. Africa is the only thing to scale. But anyway, he offers everybody $10 million in Greenland, which those people would never see a cent of that. They would give it to some NGO group that would just funnel it back to the States somehow, saying, oh, it's through the social programs and this and that. And okay, there'd be some jobs, whatever, but it would all come back to the States. They're not going to do that, right? But it would set the precedence for the left going, well, why can't we have our basic universal income? Why can't everybody have $10 million so nobody has to work anymore? Yeah, you've got to. That's one of probably the main reasons why they don't do basic universal income is just the collapse of everything. You know what I mean? They're not ready yet. They're not ready. They don't have enough temporary foreign workers. They don't have enough, automated manufacturing and robot economy, so to speak. The AI is. That's what probably the AI is for that sweep to run everything, right? I don't think it's going to work though. But anyway, I digress. So Trump then says, the Greenlanders are still saying, no, it's our island and whatever. Trump says, okay, well, we're going to get the island either the easy way or the hard way. Right after that, that's when you start to see military action. Right after that, right? Suddenly you got boots on the ground from 8 different nations, a part of the Nordic Alliance, which is now a thing. Basically, cooperative between Canada, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Greenland. Iceland is now on it, I think. Germany, France, I think they're in on it too. UK. That might be more than 8 nations, but it's starting to become a thing, right? And you've seen all this, okay? Now, it's only a handful of soldiers at any one time going there. There's only a handful of U.S. soldiers in Greenland anyway doing their thing. Some say 150, some say 1,500. I'm not, so whatever the numbers. It's not an astronomical amount, but they're there. Right? Now, here's the funny part. This is where people lose the plot, okay? They're like, okay, yeah, but Trump just wanted a better deal because the lease is just a lease and nobody wants to do all these major investments when it's a lease. They want to own it, right? Okay, that's the argument, sure. So threatening to annex people, and after, people for decades watching the United States just bomb, country after country after country, trying to do regime change here. They just did their 49th regime change, right? With Maduro. But they didn't really get rid of the regime. That's the funny part. They just, got one guy. All that money for one guy. And they killed about 100 people. You know what I mean? So the Venezuelans are pissed about that, the 100 people. So the rest of the world start to look around it. And this is where Trump has to find a way out of this mess, like all these other messes. He can't just admit he's wrong and, okay, the tariffs didn't work. We're going to use tariffs strategically, not just, fucking bull in the china shop, pull the hanging ape in the submarine. We're not going to do that anymore. It's not working. But these fucking cocksuckers, we can never never apologize, never admit defeat because that'll show weakness and blah, 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 world stage bullshit. And it's like, yeah, you're just fucking making people so miserable because of your doubling down. The left is insufferable, sure. We all agree on that. But this, this is not right, not even right wing. This is just neocon globalism. And to think Trump is not a globalist, I mean, oh my God, like the rhetoric coming up. Oh, look at that. Trump is sticking to the globalist. What are you talking about? He's got a Goldman Sachs guy with him. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's nobody been better to the fucking banksters than Trump. Not even Obama. It's ridiculous. Look at the fucking details a little bit, will you? Oh my God. Trump is hook, line, and sinker in with the fucking. He's just, again, mob bosses fighting. This part of the New World Order wants to go this way. This part wants to go that way. They're all against us, right? So anyway, after this rhetoric, okay, you got Lutnick out there saying, look, all we wanted was this deal. And now we got this great deal with Greenland. And okay, has nobody been listening to Greenland at all for like 50 years? Like, and especially in the past year, since Trump started making these threats, has nobody been listening to what they've been saying right from day one? Yes, we'll be happy to, if you want to do this Iron Dome thing, if you want to do it, go ahead. Yeah, you got our blessings. You want to do mining and stuff? Yeah, sure. And look, the mining thing, okay, that was just that's just a pretext. Trump just grabs at anything for pretext to invade. That's it. It's not about the minerals. The minerals, the reason why those minerals are still in the ground in Greenland is the same reason why the Arctic oil is still in underneath the continental shelf in the Arctic, Canadian Arctic. It's because it's really fucking hard to get at that. That stuff's like 600 feet down under permafrost and shit like that, right? Anybody that's ever worked with permafrost, you know that breaks stuff. You can't just work at that. And that's once you get through the ice on top. Like, it's not easy place to mine, right? So the Chinese, the same thing. Like, they're not going to be mining anything up there anytime soon. Us, yes, we've made an agreement. It's going to take us years, a decade, just to get stuff rolling, right? So bullying Greenland didn't work. Scaring them didn't work, right? It just hardened their resolve to say fuck you, right? But when Trump said we're going to take it by, we're going to get it any means necessary, either you do it the easy way or the hard way. Well, the militaries around the world understood this as, okay, he just took out Maduro. The Americans are going to get ready to, and we see ships moving all over the place, warships. Yes, it looks like they're going to go for Iran first, but with the threats on Cuba, the threats on this, the United States is now a rogue nation, right? They're a threat to the world. So this is why you're seeing boots on the ground. Now, I know everybody just dismissed, oh yeah, but it's 15 guys and they stayed for like 3 days. Yes, but it's back and forth. Yes, they're dropping shit off. Yes, they're bringing in weapon systems to deal with the United States. That's what's happening. That's why they're there for a couple of days and they go back and get some other guys and some more guys come by. And that's what's happening, right? Canada is now mobilizing a plan, right? Or they're not mobilizing, but they're starting to talk about the plan. Look, if the United States wanted to invade us tomorrow morning, you would lose 2/3 of the U.S. military. In that, you can't just invade overnight. It takes months and months of planning. And to take a country as large as Canada, good luck. Good luck. Like you just don't have the fuel to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and the thing is that's the first thing we're going to hit is your fuel. We're going to hit your communications first. All that stuff goes down. So all this wonderful tech that you have that you can use against Middle Eastern countries because they can't hit it, they can't touch it, they can't sever the links, right? But your satellites are useless if the comm towers are blown up, right? And sure, well, you just replace comm towers. But you run out of comm towers after a while, and then when your factories get taken out, you can't replace it, right? So, yeah, no, a war against Canada would be the worst fucking thing the Americans could ever do. This idea that we'd just lose in 3 days. Well, look, the Ukrainian war was supposed to last a week. World War I was supposed to last 2 months. World War II was supposed to last 6 to 8 months tops. North Korea was supposed to be 6 months, 8 months tops. Vietnam was supposed to be 6 months tops. Afghanistan was supposed to be 30 days. You seen a pattern here? Don't even get me started on Iraq. You know what I mean? You seen a pattern here? Oh yeah, but no. Trump doesn't do that. He just goes in, goes out, hits the target, and comes back out, and then it's over. You should be happy. No, because it's never over. Oh, we took out Iran's nuclear facilities. That's it. It's over. Oh no, we got to go back in. Why? It's like the Israeli lobby. Yeah, they're insane, right? The neocons are insane. So everybody sees these patterns. They understand the United States is a threat to the world. They've gone rogue. They want to kill everybody, right? They're paranoid. We have to preemptively strike everybody, which is, like Ron Paul and Dr. Craig Roberts would say, it's just a guarantee to keep the weapons, military-industrial complex alive, is to always have an enemy, right? Make sure everybody around the world hates you, right? So, Canada, UK, France, particularly France. France is, okay, I hate Macron, you hate Macron, we agree. But you can't hate Macron and not hate Trump. You know what I mean? Like every world leader's like, the most tolerable guy right now of the prominent is probably Carney, if you could stomach him. Just because the way, and again, that's not a reigning endorsement, it's just he's the least, puke of them all, right? but his optics are better. His speech is well received. Yes, I know all the conservatives in Canada don't like it because, well, opposition for the sake of opposition. But if you understand what he was saying, this speech that he did was completely targeted at the United States. That we're not going along with it. We're not going to do your bidding. We're not just going to lie down. Whatever. This means Carney is telling Trump that, no, we are going to take this seriously. And of course, yes, Lutnick out there dismissing, well, Canada's economy is so hooked to ours that there's nothing they can do about it. What are they, retarded? You think they're going to get a better deal when the USMCA comes around? Well, when the USMCA comes around next month or whatever, there's going to be a lot of chaos out of that because the whole pivot, like, yes, China is not going to be our savior, obviously, and nor would we want it to be, right? But in 10 years' time, Canada will not need a thing from the United States at the rate we're going. It just is what it is. That's not bravado. It's just trade deal after trade deal after trade deal. Yes, we're lowering our standards of human rights. Where it used to be, we won't do trade deal with these guys because of the human rights. We won't do trade with it. We're opening our businesses to everybody, right? And diversification, especially under the EU, that economy is larger than the U.S. economy. It will maybe not substitute everything from the Americans, but we've already replaced, at last count, God knows what it's up to now, about 15% of the trade with the United States is no more, right? But we've already made up about 24 to 30% of new trade in a year. That's not what Trump has done. That's what Carney's done. And that is so important because that is the pivot. Will it work? I don't know. That's the gamble, right? They're trying to outrun the collapse of the United States. The United States is collapsing, and the rest of the world is taking notice. And it's like de-dollarization is taking place. This is the worst thing that can happen on Trump's watch. He's going to go down as the worst president of the United States. Yeah, believe it or not, he's going to outdo Joe Biden. like being the worst president of the United States, like Trump, it's not a fucking competition here. I thought, Obama, oh, he was the worst guy. Biden, fuck, he's the worst guy. Trump, no, he's got a one-up. But the thing is that all this military, you've got the Swedes putting fighter jets in Iceland, part of the Nordic resistance stuff. But you have to understand, a lot of this Nordic resistance stuff is not just against Russia. A lot of it is, yeah, but it's also against the United States, right? It means the United States will not be the dominant force against the coalition forces in the Arctic. So even if NATO were to fall apart, which I don't think I think NATO is going to double down. Yes, it would be a big hit to NATO to lose the United States, but I think that they'll just call it something else. Like it'll be like the European nation, whatever, and it'll go back to kind of what's comfortable for them or whatever. You critique it that way after that. But no, NATO's not going anywhere. I used to think that too, but that's just America overestimating its value. That's all. Like without America in NATO, it doesn't mean the rest of the militaries can't fend off Russia. They can. It would be more difficult. There's no doubt about that. But that's also where America loses out. The second they get out of NATO, they're going to lose so many military contracts, which is one of the main things driving the GDP in the United States. Like the military is something like almost like $1.5 trillion a year spent on the U.S. military out of that $19 trillion to keep the government, the economy, right? So like, it's a ridiculous amount of money, right? And that money's coming in from elsewhere. That's everybody else buying your shit, right? Trump has just destroyed that fucking trade deal. Like, do you think you're going to sell another American F-35 that's not already signed up on a contract right now with all the shit going on? No. Why would anybody do that unless they can get a deal with the Brits saying, we'll buy the airframes and that from the Americans for the F-35, but we want to use your systems because we don't trust the Raytheon. You know what I mean? They could just flip a switch and shut it off, right? So it's like, no, they want to do that. Nobody wants to do that, right? So the thing is that this is starting to become a major disaster and crisis on top of massive crisis for Trump. But the big one is not so much all the, hey, look, they're militarizing against the United States over Greenland. Uh, Again, all these people just dismissing it. It's like, okay, you're like, okay, people are overreacting. He's not going to do it. Blah 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 blah. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but you have to look at it from the other side. This is the problem when people have no empathy. It's like or you have to think about how they see it. Okay, how does the Greenlanders see? Uh, the number one superpower threatening to basically annex them, and they know if it's done by force, their people are going to be murdered, right? Like, that's got to be infuriating, right? That's why everybody around the world is so infuriated. It's like, why would you threaten an ally? You know what I mean? And Trump's track record is attacking people. He's a neocon just like the rest. The only thing is like the neocons went from just attacking people into the Middle East and Africa to, okay, well, European countries are now on the menu as well. It's bizarre, but that's what happens when you have these fucking lunatics running the government. Like the Israelis run the U.S. government and they hate everybody, right? So, I mean, this is pretty open and admitted stuff. So Trump is seeing that. Now he's seeing something that is scaring him. And what is that? Well, it's simple. If he doesn't pull back the throttles on this, he's going to have a U.S. military coup on his own home soil. You have the strategic commander in Denmark coming out in solidarity of Greenland, very diplomatically saying NATO is all for one for all. There's basically he's counter signaling Trump, but politically not calling Trump out, but saying no, NATO will stand strong with its allies and partners. There's no compromise. What that guy is telling Trump is, if you go after Greenland, I'm not in, and if I'm not in, it's like that U.S. Warship captain or commander or whatever that said, no, I'm not going to use a U.S. pirate navy to go and kill people without rule of law or do justice in the Gulf of Mexico just because you want to make yourself look tough. I'm not gonna go against that. And that guy's right, because basically, if there's ever court martials, all these just following orders guys are going to be, have their asses handed to them. There was another general, Pocahontas there, Warren, what's her name there? Anyway, she's kind of, she's hard to tolerate. I get it. She's a Democrat, whatever. But she's kind of, when she's off, she's way off, right? But when she's over the target, Elizabeth Warren, when she is over the target, she is dead over the target. It's hit and miss with her. She's like a 50-50. She was right about in 2008 about the banksters. She was totally right about it. Wrong about just about everything else in life, but she was right about that, right? So she's there talking to a U.S. general, okay? And talking about, would you, follow unlawful orders? Now, the guy fucking danced around it for everything. I don't know why these people can't just say yes or fucking no. But eventually he said yes. If the order is considered unlawful, found unlawful, I have a whole staff there that's going to tell me why is this unlawful, and then we make the decisions based on that. So in other words, no, if it's completely unlawful, in a cryptic way, saying no, we're not going to do it. So that's 3. Okay, now you got the guy in charge of NORAD, right? No, we need Canada. Without Canada, we're blind. Most of the article will be blind to us. We can't do it without them. And this guy's making the plea to reconsider. We really need Canada, right? Because you do. I know a lot of Americans don't want to admit that, but it's true. This is the thing with Trump. Like, Trump doesn't understand partnership. He understands real estate, hostile takeover. That's it. It's like, I win, you lose. That's a deal, right? No, mutual benefit is what keeps Canada and the United States safe. Not, okay, we're going to run rickshaw for you. You know what I mean? So when Lucknick's out there saying, well, Canada has got the second best deal, Mexico has got a better deal, And if you want to negotiate with us and all that, okay, yeah, he's doing all the tough guy talk, sure, right? But the thing is that Carney's not stupid. He understands that no matter what he does, okay, there's no deal to be made with the United States whatsoever because Donald Trump doesn't want that. He wants to destroy us. He understands. And again, people on the right are starting to come around. It's like, maybe Carney's right on this. That we do just need to be fucking, when you got Stephen Harper agreeing with Carney on, yeah, we need to diversify. Like Harper said it best. He goes, a year ago, he goes, look, I was the most pro-American prime minister. No one's going to contest that on the left or the right. Yes, no, I was the most pro-American prime minister. And a year ago, yes, I would have said, yes, we've got to really work with, to resolve these issues with Trump or whatever. But Stephen Harper's not a stupid man, right? You might not like him, whatever, but, like Ocasio-Cortez, Justin Trudeau, dumb as a bag of rocks, right? We all agree. Stephen Harper, you might not like him, but he's not stupid, right? And when he's saying, okay, yes, a year ago, I would agree with pretty much all the conservative pundits, everything. No, we need to make a deal. We need to, wrap this up. We need to, put this to bed, right? He goes, now, no, we need to diversify. We need to look. Stephen Harper, the number one globalist, statesman in the world, by every metric you could possibly imagine, by winning trophies and statesman of the year after year. Okay, it might not mean nothing to us, but this man understands the game, right? And when he's saying that, this was like about 2 years ago, whatever he was saying that, maybe we miscalculated on globalism a bit. You think? That easy, like the cheapest stuff, easy money, might not be the like the supply chain 1.0 is failing. You know what I mean? I could have told you that on day one. Why? Because I got a typewriter right there, 100% made in Canada. It was when it was built, it was not susceptible to market shocks whatsoever. Just supply and demand. Build it here. It's probably even built all with Canadian steel, and whatever, right? And oh wow, we can't do that. Like this idea that we have to build like stuff all over the place and bring it back to one spot to assemble it. It's like, how did anybody ever fucking think that was cheaper? Yes, okay, there were some things that probably fit that model, but this idea that we have to diversify like everything we build to the point where like it doesn't make sense. There's no reason why things shouldn't be built all in one factory. Like just bring all the materials you need to that factory, just make the factory bigger, just fucking build it all in one shot. That's what we used to do. And then till like globalists thought it was a better idea. Okay, well, we'll make the engine over here. We'll make the body and the frame over here. We'll make the transmission over there. Like it makes no sense, right? Like I'm not saying you can't source around your own country to do that, but at least build it all in your own country. You know what I mean? And again, the more you put everything together, like a shipyard, like everything's in the shipyard. Okay, maybe they build the engine in a different area, in a different plant down the street from the shipyard, but it's still there. Like it's still within. You know what I mean? Like you put it all in one fucking basket and you're good. That's efficient, not fucking sending shit all over the world. So supply chain 2.0, I think, is going to be a lot more disruptive early on, where the age of cheap stuff is gone. Look, we can't just keep driving we got to be more competitive. We got to be more competitive. Drive the wages down. We can't do that for much longer. Look, we're at the point where we've offshored everything, our manufacturing, and now we're insourcing because the offshore manufacturing is too expensive, right? So it's like, well, we got to bring the cheap labor here. It's like, no. Let's just build it for what it costs to build it, charge what it costs, pay people good wages, let things balance out, and then go from there. Now, that said, doesn't mean you can't do global trade with each other. You can even have tariffs to balance the trade, but you do it selectively. You can. So when Trump is out there dismissing, or Lutnick's dismissing like what Canada's doing, and everybody else in the world saying, yeah, no, we'd rather do business with Canada than the United States. Look, dismissing this trade deal with China, whatever your thoughts are on China, I'm not a fan of increasing too much trade with China, but it's $1 trillion trade deal over the next, 10 years. We got another $1.4 trillion trade deal in minerals and stuff over the next couple of decades, 20 years or whatever, with the EU. You can't fucking sneeze at that. Yes, you're not going to see the benefit for it for probably about 10 to 20 years. Sure, but like in 10 to 20 years, like holy shit, Canada's at worst, Canada's a superpower in 10 years. At the rate Carney's going, we're going to be a superpower in about 4 or 5. It's and again, I picked this up right on day one. It's just like, okay, well, if he makes good, it wouldn't matter if we got Pierre or we got Carney, really, at the end of the day. They're both on the same track to a degree, except for Carney's still trying to find, Pierre's still trying to find a way to keep the MAGA train going, or the Maple MAGAs or whatever. Again, it's, okay, the pipeline and freighter argument, sure, keep it there, but kind of put that on the back burner. Go after the stuff that people really want, the cost of living, stuff like that. He does, all fairness, he does. I did vote for Pierre, you know what I mean? But I don't know if Pierre would be doing a better job right now than Carney. And I know, nobody wants to hear that. I get it. I hate what Carney's doing with the gun grab. It's a no-brainer to just get rid of that fucking wasteful spending, right? And it doesn't mean Carney's perfect, but the things that he's doing right, he's doing very right. And this is getting Trump worried. Why? Because it's not Canada can't go by, again, they still dismissing it. Oh, well, there's nothing Canada can do. You're stupid to lose out on our economy. You need us. You only need us. You don't need anybody else. You only need us. And what Canada's saying is, no, we can't trust you. It's not a matter of whether we need the United States. Sure, it'd be nice to flick a switch and go back to, normalcy or whatever. That was benefit. And all Trump had to do when he got in was say, okay, Canada, look, we're going to be bringing back manufacturing here. We're not going to do tariff wars and stuff like that. We'll be selective on that the way we have been forever. But what we're going to do is start to, streamline our economy, do, investments in our own economy and stuff like that and build it here. So you might want to follow suit. Maybe we could do partnership so that, okay, well, we'll separate our auto sector from your auto sector. Maybe we'll work out some Ford and Chrysler, patents just to get you going. So, okay, you want to build the Ram 1500 in Canada or the F-150, go ahead. You could build it under license contract. Just start, taking the time. We'll both, do mutual investment to so that everything's 100% made in your country, 100%, so that nobody loses jobs. If anything, we'd increase jobs. And nobody loses industry. You know what I mean? But all that's happening is Trump is just basically chasing away Canadian business, European business, Asian business. That's all he's doing. The people aren't flooding back into the States to open up businesses. Nobody likes a volatile, you can't have, nobody knows what the policies are because Trump is like a, Twitter diplomacy, right? But the big one about this Greenland thing is Trump has to make it look like a win. He didn't. Because the deal he got, at glance anyway, is the same deal he already had. And I know the Trump cheerleaders like, no, it's this much better. It's the same thing. It's what the Greenlanders told you could do all along. So what was this all for? Well, I'll tell you what it was all for. It was the vanity project of Trump bullying his way into taking over Greenland when all you had to do was kill them with kindness. Trump could have said, look, well, if you guys are going to separate, you could become a part of us. Here's the benefits. Here's what we do. What do you guys need? Go there. If Trump was really serious and he wasn't an egomaniac cocksucker, this faggot could have went right to Greenland for his very first visit. You know what that would have meant to the Greenlanders? Saying, hey, look, we're up here in the middle of nowhere, and you took the time to come see us first before any other trade partner? Wow, thank you. You know what I mean? And you go and you kill them with kindness. Say, oh, I love you. Take part in the culture. You know what I mean? Again, no, I'm going to annex you. I'm going to do all these horrible things to you. I'm going to steal your resources. Where did he ever fucking think that was going to work? What was he fucking thinking? You know what I mean? Clearly he wasn't. But that's not what scared them the most. So they're going to make it. They're looking like Trump is looking for a way out of this mess. Maybe I'm going to do it. Maybe I'm not going to do it. No, I wasn't going to do it. I was just saying it so that you guys would realize that the 4D chess plan, you got to pull your weight. That's what I was doing. No, he's tacoing. And the reason why he's tacoing is because he's not worried about taking on Greenland. He's worried about taking on France, Germany, Canada, starting in the Netherlands, Finland, Sweden. And I know there's Americans. Oh, we take those. Our military's bigger. Not all of them. Not in the Arctic. Between the Canadians, between the Nordic Alliance, our forces are way better prepared in the Arctic than what the Americans are. Like Alaska has forces there, and they have the biggest force in there by itself, right? And yes, you could add men, but it's not easy to just add men and equipment overnight into the Arctic. Whereas the Swedes, everything they have works in the Arctic because they're in the Arctic Circle. You know what I mean? Norway, everything they have is in the Arctic. Finland, everything they have is built to work in the Arctic. Canada, we have more equipment in the Arctic than just about anybody. Although, like I'm not saying we don't have problems there, but if we start opening up all our old Cold War bases, which that's, time consuming, whatever, from Alert down, which is the very top peninsula, even above Greenland. You know what I mean? Like, sure, that's probably, my dad's been up there. It's a military base up there. They were tearing old buildings down and stuff like that when he went up. And whatever, but we put a radar station there. We're basically we could see Russia from the other side. You know what I mean? But the thing is that the idea of militaries now talking about what are we going to do in a hypothetical war? On mainstream TV, they're talking about hypothetical wars. So what this is doing is signaling one of two things. Either A, U.S. military generals have tipped off Canada and European countries that, yes, Trump is going to go try to make a move for Greenland. He's good. Okay, we need to signal to Trump that we know, right? Okay, mainstream. Hypothetical. Hypothetical could be translated as, yeah, we know what you're up to and we're already preparing for it. So you might win, you might get Greenland, but at what cost? 100,000 dead? Americans dead for a war that doesn't need to happen? 2 million dead? If you're fighting Canada, you're going to lose about 200 million people over a 30-year period, probably, and we'll lose all about maybe 8 to 4 million people left in the country here. But Canada will win that war. We've never lost a war, and why? Because it's not the equipment we have; it's how we fight. It's you got to look at Canadians in war. It doesn't matter what the equipment is. It really doesn't. It's our tactics that are always like we're fucking barbarians. Like we're the worst people to ever fight. Ask the Germans who they hated fighting the most. Canadians and Australians. We were the worst. Number one, we had never had anything good on us when you did kill us. We never had like chocolate or cigarettes on us. And number two, we fought like bastards, right? Canadians and Australians are legendary for their. Ask the Italians what it was like to fight in Artona. you know what I mean? Like, or North Africa. You ask them. Belgium. Ask the Belgians what they think of Canadians. They love us. Why? Because they watched us kick ass through fucking Belgium. Outgunned, outnumbered, against superior forces. If we did it before, we'll do it again. You know what I mean? Yes, the immigrants will leave. That's one thing, because they're not going to fight for the country. But, you get you get the old stock Canadians, that, there might not be as many of us, but you have to think about how we'd fight, and yes, it will be on U.S. soil. And that's what basically this is signaling, is that yes, we'll fight a guerrilla warfare, asymmetrical warfare. Picture, Vietnamese fighting tactics, but in the modern age on steroids. It would be an absolute brutal thing for the U.S. civilians to actually, the cities would get artillery. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be basically drones, artilleries. Sure, the Americans have more, but again, you have to understand, the only reason why the Americans do so well, say Iraq and Afghanistan, is because your fuel supply is back in the States. Your weapons manufacturing is back in the States. It was the same in World War II, right? It also benefited Canada that we were building, 400 Lancaster bombers and thousands of mosquito bombers and Hawker Hurricanes. We built 1,300 of them, and the list goes on and on and on. And like the manufacturing was safe, right? The dangerous part was getting it across the Atlantic, from the U-boats, right? But now you got you got a superior force military-wise. Okay, what's the first thing you got to do? Well, you got to blind them, right? So NORAD's out right away. We'll both be blind. But the thing is it's the strategic reserves will be destroyed right away. So again, a lot of people think that's what the Venezuelan oil is about. Is Biden was using the strategic reserve, selling it off to keep the government from collapsing. And again, Biden's bad. There's no doubt about that. Like the Americans have not had a good president probably since Ronald Reagan. You know what I mean? And even at that, Ronald Reagan wasn't perfect, but he's probably the second best overall president that the United States had. Even though there's a lot of things you can critique there, but across the entire board, right? And Donald Trump 1.0 in the first 2 years was the best president the United States ever had. That's the bizarreness of all this, right? But no, basically, American generals are signaling to the Trump administration that we're not going to do this. So if you have a shaking on that level, okay, of U.S. generals, yes, you can fire the U.S. generals, but for every U.S. general that's kind of counter signaling Trump, even if they're doing it, in a way that they don't lose their job. Some guys have lost their job. How many soldiers are about to say, no, we're not going to fight our Canadian brothers? But it might be a handful. But this is also why I said, Carney signing the deal with China guarantees a war with the United States. There's full stop. Because even though Lutnick is dismissing our trade deals as nothing, whatever, the numbers don't lie. It's benefiting Canada. And the United States are taking the losses. The United States are just losing business. They're not gaining anything from us running away from them, right? And the United States cannot cut off the Canadian economy overnight. They can't tell you this. Why? Because the U.S. economy is a bigger economy, about 10 times the size, but the trade that we do, again, it's not about that 2% versus the 50% or 75% or whatever it is, which would now be 60% because the United States just lost, 15% trade with Canada. That is a lot of job losses in America, in the States. It's a lot of job losses here, but it's hitting the Americans a lot harder. Why? Because we're diverting that trade rather than losing the trade, right? So we've already gained more trade than we've lost. That's not what's happening in the States. Again, if Trump was doing what Carney was doing, people would be saying, oh my God, this guy's fucking fantastic. But because of partisanship, people don't look at things. They just look at, I just have to oppose this guy because he exists, right? And you can critique things. There's no doubt about that. It's usually as soon as I say something positive about Carney, it's not because I like Carney. The instant is, well, yeah, but he's doing this wrong and that wrong. Yeah, I know. But you got to take the wins and the losses. You know what I mean? Where when you're looking at what Trump's doing, okay, I've given him some credit, like on the immigration thing, he's in the right direction. The Doge thing, I critiqued it. Again, like the way he's going about with the ICE thing. And I understand what the ICE thing is for. It's multifaceted to bring in more police state, but it's also mainly the optics is, if the ICE is everywhere at all times, what it gets is, people to self-deport. That's the main thing. Why? Because that's cheaper. And I understand that. But something even cheaper than that is cut off the welfare and, like say, look, you got 6 months to get out. That's more than gracious enough. You got 6 months to get out. After that, no more welfare, no more EBT, no more free hospital visits, no more nothing. You know what I mean? And then you could put it onto the state. And then, most people are going to self-deport just by cutting off the welfare. That's we could do it in every Western country. Just say, look, you got 6 months to get out. If you're here illegally, there's no possibility for citizenship, no possibility for anything. And after 6 months, we're going to start charging you for all the stuff that you've gotten off of us for free. You start doing that to the welfare recipients that landed here decades ago and been mooching off the system, they're going to leave before they have to pay it back. And you can have a clause where when they leave, you make sure that they're well documented so they don't just sneak back in, whatever. And you say you can't come back into the country until you pay your tab. And your tab is every cent you've taken from the Canadian taxpayer. That would get these people gone forever. You know what I mean? Again, you take away the incentive, they'll go. And you can do it without firing a shot. And you can save a lot of money, because most people will do it. And yes, there'll be protests and stuff like that, but most people won't even know because it's like the people just self-deport quietly, right? And then you can use your ICE to get the illegals. So if you can get like 20 to 30 million people to deport quietly, that's the way to go. And if that's the stepping stone that they're going to use, no problem. Problem is Trump is guaranteed that, almost guaranteed, unless Stephen Bannon is right about, that Trump is going to win in 2028 because, well, obviously we're going to, maybe that's what all this ICE stuff is about, is to spark the left into revulsion so that you can do, nationwide insurrection act. And I'm not saying they should take out the left, the radical left, on like these violent protesters and hold them to account, sure. But if it's being used just so that you can suspend the U.S. election, yeah, that's going to create a military coup. And the left, when they take full power, the next time they're going to take full power across the board. You will not believe how authoritarian they're going to be. I mean, we're going under either fascism or communism all over the world. Look, all the Americans that were going on, and I told you guys this for years, while you're critiquing Australia and Canada and New Zealand and the UK for their draconian police force going out after hate speech and Twitter posts and stuff like that, now you're starting to see it, right? It's the same. You're just late to the party. That's all. You do not have a constitution. Don't ever think you do. Constitution is a shit rag, not even worth the bullets that are not even protecting it. You know what I mean? When the law enforcement, military, and your judges and lawyers are activists, and they're just following orders, and they never do right by the people, you should pick up on that pattern. That's why I'm always so hard on the law enforcement military. But in their defense of the military, by them signaling to Trump that say, don't do this because we're not all on board with this, that has probably got people behind closed doors that are Trump loyalists going, we might have a military coup on our hands. If you don't want to get fucking Muammar Gaddafi, don't go after Greenland. So Trump has to find a way out. Now, will he? I don't know, because it's Trump, right? He might just double down and just dismiss, right? Because that's what these guys do. They have to dismiss. Like Lutnick has to dismiss Canada's viability and whatever. That's why they say, oh, we're not a real country. Oh, Greenland. Oh, well, they claim it's theirs just because a boat landed there 500 years ago and they say it's there. Like, okay, don't be saying that because Christopher Columbus, hello, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, yeah, like, the land between Canada and the United States border, well, that's an arbitrary border anyway. You know what I mean? Like, a guy who basically gets elected on secured borders. But suddenly Canada is just a fictitious country, right? Oh, geez, that'll make us want to become a part of the 51st state. You know what I mean? I digress. But the guy's in a mess, right? And again, like I said, I don't think Trump is going to live out the rest of the... Cameron McGregor, his take is that the Trump administration is going to fold before the end of the year, 2026. That, he's just going to give up because it's such a disaster, right? And again, when the food crisis starts getting here and the fuel is just not getting cheaper, just wait till you see like the August fuel prices. Look, guys, the freaking gold, I mean, that's telling you everything you need to know. Like, I mean, this time last year, gold was at what, 2,900, 3,100, something like that. Gold has just went up about $80, $100 in the past week. We're almost at $5,000 gold. Like, it's fucking crazy, right? Most people are oblivious. But I do believe, and I'm still holding to it, that a MAGA supporter, veteran, is probably going to assassinate Trump. I mean, it could be anybody at this point. Like, I mean, it could be the Venezuelans, it could be the Iranians, it could be the Israelis, it could be the the Russians, it could be the the Greenlanders. Maybe they'll do it. I don't know. Right now, the Greenlanders are just there making fun of all the fentanyl overdoses in the states. If you haven't seen the videos, like it's like it's kind of like passive aggressive, right? Again, I don't agree with that, but it's kind of like the question is why do Greenlanders not want to become a part of the United States? Well, number one, there's 38 trillion reasons why. Number one, but here's another one for you. Drug addicts and all that. Don't get me wrong. Like Inuit groups have a lot of lifestyle problems. There's no doubt about that, right? But they do have a very close knit community. If you ever meet these people, you'll see what I mean. Like they're very family oriented. Yes, they have a lot of drug and alcohol problems. I'm not, the kettle calling the pot black. I get that, but what they're saying is no. You couldn't pay us enough to become a part of the United States, and that's got to be insulting to Americans. I get that because if it was 1980, everybody wanted to be a part of the United States. You know what I mean? 1990s, everybody wanted to be a part. That was the shiny beacon on the hill. Now Trump has made the United States one of the most hated countries in the world. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not completely across the board because most people can still separate politics from from the people and the country. But it's getting to the point where it's like, wow, the homeless, the drug addicts, the rioting everywhere, the ICE agents, losing 39% fucking tourism from your number one tourist, which was Canadians, like 39%. And a lot of them say, oh, that's nothing. Tell that to the thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people that lost their jobs in the tourism industry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, well, they just got to take a little bit of pain, for the greater. But there's no benefits. Again, maybe Trump pulls a fast one on us and say, yeah, here's what it all made up to. Bang, it's this. No, it's always this, oh, look, this great win that is, okay, and number one, it's a deal, rehashing the deal you already have. That might look a little bit better. Maybe you could argue that, but all that problem, which he could have got without all this rhetoric, and again, like it's like, oh yeah, but it's to get NATO to pay its fair share. I'm not saying that NATO, Trump wasn't right on, NATO members not paying enough and stuff like that. I'm not saying that. He was correct there. But what I'm also saying is they might not, like the Europeans might not need NATO anymore. You know what I mean? They just might not need it. Because, again, between the Germans, the French, and the British, add in the Italians and the Spaniards if you want, but just those three can hold off Russia, right? They can hold off Russia. Now add in Finland, Poland, Latvia, the list goes on and on and on. Like the Russians will be held at the Ukraine. Like they're not going to be able to get past the Ukraine. Russia cannot take the world. The United States can't take the world. Russia can't take the world. You know what I mean? Look, the United States can't even control the Middle East, really. You know what I mean? It's like there's never going to be peace in the Middle East. I mean, I think most people made peace with that idea. All we're doing is just doing wars for Israel. That's it. And I mean, it's pretty much openly admitted at this stage, right? Yeah, so it is one of those things that, yes, no, the governments around the world, like, look, Denmark is saying it clear, plain English. They're not even sugarcoating it. If we feel that you guys are doing something wrong, we're going to just shoot soldiers first. We're going to shoot first, ask questions later. That's the way the Danish are trained. An international incident could happen very easily with the Danes. If the Trump administration missed signals, the Danes could sink a warship. They could shoot down an aircraft. They could shoot American soldiers. And you say, well, we'll destroy them if that. But again, why does this scenario exist? You know what I mean? Before you jump on the, America, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? Like maybe you should ask yourself, why are you attacking Greenlanders? Like exactly what threat to the United States is the Greenlanders? And all the arguments Trump is giving, you got to understand, like the Greenlanders are telling you, look, Chinese and Russian warships, number one, they can't get through the ice right now. The Chinese, yes, they want to make moves in the Arctic. No one's going to deny that. Okay, the Russians are already in the Arctic; it's their backyard as well. Okay, there's like 50 bases on the Russian side, but they're on the Russian side. You know what I mean? The Russians are not swarming ships and blockading Greenland. Chinese ships are not blockade, like they don't have that ability, right? To do that, you know, uh, they don't, right? So that's a lie. It's a clear, blatant lie. The Danes, like, who are you going to believe, Trump or the Danes, right? Oh, but the EU's the deep state and the New World Order. Yeah, so is Trump. Like, it's again mob bosses fighting, right? And again, I know it sounds like if I'm against Trump, it means I'm for the EU and I'm for the. No, I've fucking bashed on that stuff for years, right? But the thing is that Trump is not making the world a safer place. Uh, and you have to understand, like, the big fight, like this Monroe Doctrine 2.0 is kind of a farce. A manifest destiny puts Americans into retard mode. It does. We have to attack Canada again. Why? I mean, why? Trust me, yes, the Americans have way more APCs than we do and more tanks and all that. Okay, so America has about 5,000 Abrams. If you add up like MRAMs and Bradleys and whatever, and M109s, you're looking at the Paladins or whatever. And you're looking at and all the mobile artillery, probably about 15,000 vehicles. Okay, Canada has about 900 labs, which are outgunned, by tanks and stuff. About depending on 80 to 140 Leopard tanks. I don't know how many are still in the country. A lot of them are over in Europe, but we could have those back here fairly fast. You know what I mean? Faster than you can mobilize an invasion. Okay, so we're outgunned. We're outnumbered. Okay, how many anti-tank weapons do we have? I don't know. We gave a lot to Ukraine, right? So I know we're low. I know we only have maybe 30 main artillery guns, okay, and about 30 or 40 light artillery guns. I know we gave a lot to the Ukraine, like the M777s, our best artillery gun, right? Drones, though, we probably have thousands of, because we're building them for the Ukraine. So the small drones, right? Fighters, you add up trainers and everything. We have about 60 to 80 fighters, again, depending on where they are around the world. Okay, to about 3,500 fighters that the Americans have on the go, plus whatever reserves they got. So the Americans have numerical superiority over us. There's no doubt about that. Manpad launchers, I think we're the number one builder of manpad launchers in the world. So boots on the ground would be very difficult for the Americans just on that. You come over a tree line and there's a lav there, say goodbye to the Apache. Say goodbye to the Blackhawk with whoever's on board. The Chinook, you name it. We have 14 Chinooks, about 100 to 150, or we'll say 80 still operational, what do you call it, Griffin helicopters. I don't know how many Kiowas we have. We had 100 at one point. And some of these things can be outfitted with weaponry and stuff like that. So that stuff, like if the Ukraine showed anything, helicopters are kind of all but kind of useless in a battlefield because they get shot down too easy. Like, do you really think the Russian helicopters are going to be shot down easier than like the American helicopters aren't going to get shot down just as easy? You're flying low. You know what I mean? Like you're probably going to get hit by just ground fire. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah. We still do have some old air defense systems that can be pulled out. Don't know how many missiles. But again, for the time it takes to do the invasion, we could have our newer air defense systems in. And that's where the real problems come out. We got 12 frigates, a destroyer on the way, but that's, a good ways yet, and 4 submarines. And if you want to call the Kingston class a corvette, minesweeper corvettes, we've got 12 of those. To the 68 to 70 U.S. subs, and about 240 warships, plus supply ships and stuff like that. So that's what the Americans have, and then about 1 million to 4 million man personnel in the States. where we have about 100 and some odd thousand. So, say 130,000 if you added everybody up. So, fighting force, maybe, it's very small, maybe 10, 15,000 guys, right, of actual fighting force. But that said, if you even with that lopsided, right, it's where you put the guys. Okay, so the guy with the old Onyx anti-tank wire-guided missile sitting somewhere in the Canadian Rock Shield, covered up so the thermals can't find him. The IEDs, the guerrilla warfare tactics that would be used. Like, you're not going to get, like, if you try to come through Highway 16, there's going to be a Leopard tank, or a TOW missile sitting in a barn somewhere. You're just not going to see it. You might find a couple of them, but you're not going to find them all. And if it's, that far out, or you got a 105 sitting there, again, inside a barn or something coming through the, Highway 16, you might win that battle, but you're going to lose 4 or 5 APCs and everybody on board that. So you're going to lose about 30 guys every time you make contact to kill about 4 guys, right? So you got to think about that. So there's probably going to be, because Canada would be the most advanced country the United States would ever fight at this point. Right now, their most advanced is Iran, but Iran is not really, went toe to toe yet. They haven't really, like, the Iranians have only done, calculated retaliation. They haven't done the full, hey, we're going to hit you back, and it's a war now, and we're going to, prepare to defend yourself. When the Iranians do that, it's going to be a rude awakening for the Americans, because they're going to destroy every base in the region, right? And then probably rebel groups are going to storm every base. So the Americans, even if they could hold off the rebel groups, okay, you're going to have about 50 to 100,000 people killed just because you won't be able to rescue them. You won't be able to get them out of there. You know what I mean? Like, you just won't be able to do it. And look, it only takes about 11 missiles per base to destroy it, except for maybe the big one in Kandahar or whatever. But maybe that takes 100 missiles, whatever. But make no mistake, you will be destroyed there. Now, that said, just looking at the drone warfare, that's going to be 90% of it. Coming out of a tree line or over a tree line, and then mortars, artillery. That's what kills you. It's the same in Ukraine. Look, if you think you can just roll tanks through an open field in the prairies or whatever, just up Highway 16, from New York State to Ottawa, you think you're just going to roll tanks through that without artillery raining down on you? And good luck finding that stuff. You could try. You put drones up. The drones are going to get shot down. You're going to be blinded every time. Oh well, we got satellites. Well, our drones, the first thing they're going to be doing is going after your communications, right? That's the first thing we're going to do is blind you. And the thing is you think we don't know where the stuff is? It's all stationary. All your radar stations are stationary, pretty much the same as ours. It's a big problem. But that, I'm sure you'll take out all our radio stations and stuff like that too. But the difference is we're going to be fighting more of a defensive war. In other words, we want you to come in. We're going to want you to come in. We'll do what the Russians are doing to you. Yes, you got more manpower. You can be more places. But mobilize, it'll take nothing to mobilize the citizenry in defense of the country, right? And it really just put the artillery here, put the artillery here, put the artillery here, hit them with a drone, hit them with a drone. Yes, we'll take massive losses. There's no doubt about that. But there's more firearms in this country than there is people. If every firearms owner in Canada fires one successful shot, you lose 1.5 million Americans. If they fire 10, you lose 15. Now, you'd say, yeah, but you guys will never get close enough to get the shot because we'll find you, blah, blah. Yes, the equipment the Americans have is superior in a lot of ways when it's pointed at the right direction. F-35s can't fly without fuel, guys. And most of them are going to be taken out on the ground. They might not be taken out on the air, but they're used. It's the way, look, when they destroy an S-300 system in Syria or they destroy an S-300 system anywhere, like in Ukraine, there's one common factor. It's the same thing that happened to all the air defense systems in Venezuela. They were pretty much all off. Why? Because they had insider information. Maybe there were some of them that were turned on, and they were able to use electronic warfare against those. But for the most part, they were avoided, right? And they were off. So if that's why nothing got shot down. Uh, I think about 100 U.S. soldiers got injured, but from I guess shooting back and forth or whatever. But yeah, so drones will take out most of your aircraft on the ground, your fuel supply. The first 2 weeks, it's like we're not going to do like the Ukraine where we waited like a year and a half to start hit where they waited. Okay, they let the Russians invade for 3 or 4 days before they mobilized, right? Which wasn't a good idea. They should have been ready and waiting like the Finns would be. Like the Finns are like they've already started to more like, and again, that's the thing. If there's an invade, like if we start seeing U.S. military drills on the border with Canada, the first thing we're going to start doing is fortifying our positions like the Finns, right? So that we can go at a moment's notice. That right there will probably cost you a 10-1 loss. You know what I mean? Just being ready, right? Like let's say and again, look, the fucking Ukrainians could have sent out their frogfoots with just S-80 rockets on it when the Russian columns were just sitting there fucking like for 3 days waiting for fuel. They could have took out hundreds of tanks, but they're like, no, they're just doing a show of force. They're not actually going to like really invade us. Where make no mistake, Canada wouldn't make that. We would not make that mistake. It's like, okay, if we see a tank column sitting there waiting for fuel, we're taking it out, and everybody around it. You know what I mean? Like we're taking that out right away. We're not going to wait 3 days for you to respond to you. We're going to hit you just as you're coming before you probably even get across the border. It's like, yeah, no, they're coming in. Wait for the first. As soon as that first barrel of an Abrams comes across, hit it. And then fucking artillery, everything, even on the American side, just fucking hit it all. As soon as it comes in here, we'll take that as an invasion. Green light, go. Total war. If they're civilians, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way it's going to be. Like, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be and America's never fought a real war, modern war, on its own soil. Could you imagine, like, Canadian military forces using Viet Cong tactics in the United States? How many millions died, like just from the starvation alone? Because the food supply we're going to do like World War II. We're going to strafe your cows. I'm sure you'll do the same to us. But the thing is I've already war gamed this so many times. I'm like, this is how you take out a superior force, right? You don't wait to respond. Like if Ukraine would have responded on day 2 with the attacks on Moscow, saying, look, we don't want to escalate, but if you come in, it's total war. The Russians have now come acclimatized because they know they're fighting NATO, right? But the thing is that, and it's still in Putin's favor. But had they seen the bloodshed on Russian soil right away, it would have worked against Putin, right? And look, the Ukrainians are losing the war. But they have taken Russian territory as well. Like, I mean, like not Donbass, whatever, but I mean in Russia. They have taken territory. They lost it, but the fact that happened, right? Now, what happens when it's just total war? It's like, okay, well, if you're going to kill our civilians, we're going to kill yours. At that point, you mobilize. There's no fence sitters. You know what I mean? Treasonous will be shot. If you don't fight, you die, right? And it's going to be ugly. I don't want to see that. But the difference is, unlike the Ukraine, you're not going to see, and I know some people like Canadian Prepper, some don't. Yeah, he's a sensationalist a bit, but he does give you good information on a lot of stuff. That's why when I did my World War III updates, I never said anything was imminent. It's just, here's where we're at. Here's the dots, connect them. 2 + 2 will = 4, see where we're at. But the thing is that you got to think about how bloody this would get if Trump pulls this trigger, right? Because first off, the military coup in the States would probably stop it because most Americans don't want this. But for the ones that are dumb enough to do it, if they don't want it on day 1, everybody in the States will want to kill every Canadian after the first week just because of the fucking barbarism you're going to get from us. Because when you look at it, okay, when can the Americans invade? They can't invade now. Invading now is a death sentence for anybody invading. You'll die of exposure before you get shot. Most of you won't be shot. You're going to be blown apart by artillery or killed by FPV drones. Right? That's how people get killed in the battlefield now. Artillery, FPV drones, that kind of stuff. It's always been artillery, right? It's always been the artillery. Now, even if we run out of artillery shells early on, you're still talking about tens of thousands, maybe a million artillery shells on American soil, right? Between them, skirmish at the border, right? So you're talking about whole American town, border towns completely leveled, Canadian ones too. The difference is we're going to evacuate ours first. Right? The Americans won't do that. Why? Because the arrogance of the Trump administration would never concede the idea that Canada would fight back. Like they already think we're not going to fight back, and we've been telling you, fuck you, make me, for a year now that, no, okay, well, yeah, you could destroy our economy, but you can't do it without destroying your own. Like, Carney knows this, right? I know this. It's easy. Again, the American economy is a tumor grafted onto a smaller Canadian economy. That's why Trump can't just flick the switch and shut off the hydro and shut off the gas and shut off because you need that stuff, right? Now, that stuff stops on day one. So right away, by the time you get to the end of August of that year, even if the both militaries call a truce, the rebel groups, Canadian rebel groups, will still push into the, like, it's not going to be forgiven. It's not going to be, okay, well, they called a truce now and that's it. No. We're going for broke. It's all or none. That White House is going to be fucking steaming rubble again, and we're taking the northern United States, because if we don't, you guys are going to do it too again when you get that fucking retarded manifest destiny impulse to come and invade us again. Right? If you did away with that manifest destiny bullshit, you'd do a lot better. You do a lot better, because it's what backfires on you, right? But the thing is that, yes, we're going to go after the food supply. As rebel groups are going to go after the food supply. I'm not saying we're doing this today. I'm saying if Trump invades Canada, we're going after the food supply. We're going to go after the communications, obviously first, and oil. Then after that, I hope you don't work at like Raytheon or Lockheed Martin or any place like that, because we know where those buildings are. Right? Grab the yellow pages. Okay, it's right here. Yeah, that's where they're at. Yeah, okay, we know where the address is. Google. I mean, most of the military will be using Google Maps to see what the next target they're going to hit, and it'll all be this, like gas pipelines, water pipelines, and then, like I say, August rolls around. You've got no crops because 80% of your fertilizer came from Canada, and now Canada's decided to starve you guys out. You just won't be able to get food in. Why? Because every ship that comes in bringing in food, because of your food shortage, because you can't grow enough, right? Guess what? Those ships are going to get torpedoed. If you think there's going to be a single ship left in a single American harbor without a torpedo in it, like those little sea spiders are going to be a fucking menace to the American shipping. Like, it's like we already got the freighter wars going on now. Look at all the shortages that's causing here, there, and everywhere, right? Just wait till we start hitting the wheat, the grain, all that stuff, right? The grain silos. Oh, fuck, they're all on fire. Oh, the cows, they're all shot or poisoned. Oh my God, somebody keeps lighting the wheat fields on fire. Yeah, it's going to be fucking guerrilla warfare to a level. California will burn to the ground. Again, why? Because it doesn't matter how good your military is, nothing can take out a firestorm from Mother Nature, right? I'm sure it'll happen to us too, but difference is we'd be expecting it. You know what I mean? Like, people in the States won't be expecting that level of fucking catastrophe. Just arson everywhere, trains derailed, bridges blown up. Like, guys, look at World War II. If Canada just has World War II quality weapons, okay? We're talking, Carl Gustav, bazookas, whatever, homemade bazookas, whatever. Just that shit alone, like V2 rockets, okay? You say, yeah, we'd shoot those down in 5 seconds. Okay, that's the point, right? We know that the Americans only have about 100 Patriot missile systems and not enough Patriot missiles. You gave half of them to Israel. You lost half of them between Israel and Ukraine, right? So Okay, Iron Dome, it's 16 missiles in a battery. Okay, we know where the Iron Dome is. Okay, send 17 drones. Here comes this little last one at about 40 miles down. Okay, uh, electronic warfare is too strong. We can't get past that. Okay, well, we'll use the wire guided drones like the Russians are using. That can't be jammed. Yeah, those things are fucking. They're line of sight. But again, ambush, ambush, ambush. Like you name it, the ambushes are not just going to be on the American side. They're going to be on the Canadian side. They're going to be on the American side too. So the problem with Trump's annexing of Canada goes back to when they war gamed it back around World War II. Like, could Canada defend itself against the United States? And the answer was simply yes. Now, at the time, British forces would have helped us and all that. And this is assuming nobody's coming to our aid, right? This is assuming nobody's coming to our aid, right? The thing is that I've war gamed this. At first, yes, I was on board with everybody that no, Canada would lose in 3 days, blah, 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 blah. And then I started thinking about it. Yeah, no. We got 2 million lakes here to get around. You've got 6 months out of the year that you can actually do any sort of real fighting and move things around easily. We've got one real super highway from east to west. After that, it's all little highways, and depending on where they're going, you get picked off the whole way. You know what I mean? And the idea, well, we'll just use our drones and thermal imaging. Yeah, but we have counters to that too. The MadPad launchers will take out the drones, so you won't have the surveillance that you think you're going to have. Like the Afghanis couldn't deal with. They shot down the odd drone with with their Eagle missiles or whatever. But it's the anti-tank weapons that are going to be a real pain in the ass, especially the spikes. We don't have to build 20,000 tanks to take on the Americans. We just have to build 20,000 spike missiles, right? They're not foolproof, but wait till you're taking a piss break, take out the tank. Even if there's nobody in it. Now these guys have to walk home. Good luck, because we've got snipers. So snipers, anti-tank weapons, like again, this is the stuff we have. It's just, do we have enough? So we see you mobilizing. My hunch is that if we mobilize in a defensive posture like the Finns, yes, it's a big country. We can't cover it all. You'll get in past here, past there, but you won't be able to hold anything. And if you lose most of your tanks and stuff on the Canadian border or at the Canadian border or inside on Canadian soil, when we do our counteroffensive, that's when our tanks and shit come out. You know what I mean? And we'll take it town by town. Like again, encircle, kill them. Encircle, kill them. And the easiest way to encircle is to not take you on at the border, but to go around you and come up from behind you from the States. You say, well, you'd never get in there. Yes, we would. Why? Because there's no way the U.S. military would ever think we could get past them. But you don't have to get past them day one of the invasion. You can get past them, when we know you're planning it. It's like, okay, they're planning it. Okay, put our guys, smuggle the anti-tank weapons in wherever you got to smuggle them in. Just be ready to come up in the rear when they do the invasion, cut off the retreat, and then we could slaughter millions of guys right on the border, inside the Canadian border. There'd be nothing you could do. You just wouldn't be able to retreat. Your air power would be pretty much useless. And at the same time, you do like what they did in Ukraine. Okay, how did the Ukraine lose most of its air force? They lost it on the ground. Why? Because guys from outside the fucking airport were mortaring. Like mortars are a pain in the ass to fucking runways. They don't destroy the runway, but anything on the runway, right? And that's enough. That's enough. Again, rockets, whatever, drones, take out the aircraft on the runways. Why? Because they all have to land for maintenance at some point. You know what I mean? And again, it's easier said than done. True, but if you already have the counter strike ready to go before the invasion, you can thwart the invasion and do the counter strike right away. But you have to hit everything. You can't say, okay, well, we stopped the invasion. That's good enough. Let's have a truce. No, you keep going. Why? Because you got to make sure they can't do it again. You destroy everything. Everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. And that is why I come up with the conclusion that Canada would not only win the war, but would probably take most of the northern United States just through our tactics alone. Because if the military isn't going to employ the tactics, it's not that the military is going to be there more to save you guys from us. The people that are like, okay, no, we're going to fight guerrilla warfare. The Geneva Convention is going to there's going to be Geneva Convention 2.0 after this, and it'll be like, okay, in World War One, Canadians did all these crimes against humanity. Like Canada is still the number one holder of different crimes against humanity. We've done more crimes against humanity than any other nation in the world. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's all been done on the battlefield, right? Yes, chemical warfare will be used day one. Why? Asymmetrical warfare. You don't have to take out everybody. You just have to make sure they're too sick to fight, right? Guys, the terror attacks alone would be bad. And then, cheap makeshift rockets just going into New York City, going into LA, going into all these major cities, just to kill and maim and terrorize. That's it. That would be out, fairly early on. And if we end up with some of these rocket trucks, God help you. Because that there, you can take out a lot of things. But the idea is you're taking out water treatment plants, you're taking out, the idea if you can get at least a couple of million people starving to death and dying of dysentery, that creates enough of a problem for the U.S. government that you'd have your own revolts on top of that. That's to say that half the civil population doesn't revolt against the military to stop the war because they don't want to do it. But you never know. Usually people just go along, but that's what it will cost you. So I know it sounds like I'm sounding grandiose and everything like that, but guys, look, when I call things, I usually call it with a very calculated mind. I'm not saying it would be a cakewalk. I'm saying this would be about a 30-year long war that nobody wants to fight because of a fucking insane fucking government in the States, right? A bunch of Israeli Jews that just want to kill everybody everywhere around the world, right? So it is what it is. And there's no way to get around it other than to understand that Donald Trump is now being signaled to that, hey, we are taking you seriously. Even if you don't. I've always said this about religion. People say something about religion and say, well, I don't believe in that, so therefore it's nothing. It's not about what you believe, it's what the other guy believes, right? So when the other guy believes you're being attacked, they're going to be attacked, right? Even by a superior force. And the goal, again, Donald Trump he's not a tyrant, he's a bully. Saddam Hussein, that's a tyrant, right? That's the scariest strongman out there. Right now, the scariest strongman is Xi Jinping or Erdogan over there in Turkey. These are the scariest two men on the planet right now, not Donald Trump. Putin's probably number 3. Donald Trump is I don't know where he is. He's retarded, but he's not he's just a bully. He's not whatever. But the rest of the world is signaling to the United States, do not push that button. Yes. I mean, the gamble is this, that, okay, the United States invades Greenland and Canada, and everybody says, well, no, not going to do it. Not going to do it. Canada, you're on your own. I don't think that happens. If you listen to Macron's almost itching to fucking get into a war with the States. I don't know why, but these people are insane too, right? Trump is insane, but so is Macron, so is Starmer, so is, Carney's, I don't think he's insane. And again, not giving the man a pass, but he's also not going to just back down. He's clearly not backing down. Why? Because Carney's plan is working for Canada, right? This is something the Trump administration can't tell you. They can only dismiss it saying, oh, look at this stupid $1 trillion trade deal that Canada got with the China. Do you really think they're going to be able to maintain that? Please. It's this idea that Canada can never do anything without the United States. And it's okay, 1991 happened. You can agree that Canada is completely hooked from 1991 on to the United States. Pre-1990, Canada's pretty sovereign. It's all these globalists that sold us out, right? Those days can come again. It's just they take, almost the same amount of time to reverse. And that's what I'd rather see. I don't want to see us going to war with the Americans. They're our friends. They were our number one allies. They're not now, but they were, right? The rest of the world doesn't want to see that. Especially when it's pointless. It's so pointless. But if you look at most wars, they are. They're about banksters and, the Greater Israel Project and stuff like that. It's openly admitted stuff, right? And then when you notice, they call you all kinds of names when you notice. But it's like, well, you told me. So no, Trump is not going to get the Greenland feather in his cap, but he has to make it look like he did, right? And again, what was signed? Oh, once again, here we go. Yeah, what was signed? Okay, well, we'll wait and see what was signed to see what deal, phenomenal deal this stupidity was worth. But if we're lucky, maybe if this is Trump trying to find a way out, at least the rhetoric will stop. Right? The damage is done. Like it's like again, Trump has betrayed the United States for at least the next 30 years. So for the next 30 years, like economic development in the States is going to be really grim. It already is, right? It already is. Like it already is. And the rest of the world's like, well, we're not going to make our economies completely dependent on the United States like that. So you are going to see de-dollarization. That is the death of the United States. That is going to hurt big time. Things are about to get extremely expensive. Now, I know there's a lot of people saying like everybody just dump a dollar at once. House of L, I like her channel because she tries to stay as nonpartisan as possible and just gives you here's the policy that's being discussed, here's what they did, stuff like that. She's really, really good. I highly recommend House of L. She's great. She might be a little bit more on the. She's obviously anti-Trump. You'll pick that up right away. But she's very pro-Canada. She's from the Netherlands. Very pro-Canada and stuff like that. But she explains it out. Like, here's the numbers. Here's the data. Here's what it's showing. So when she's out there, people in her comments, like her comments telling her, everybody should just say "fuck America," dump treasuries, right? She's like, she understands the emotional rhetoric, and so do I. But here's what her take is on it, and I'd agree with this: is that if you did that overnight, you would collapse. Mostly, the Americans would weather that storm better than anybody else. But it would probably destroy half the U.S. economy just doing that, right? To dump the U.S. Treasury, it's a suicide. It's a nuclear option, right? But the thing is that most small countries that are like Japan, for example, would be completely destroyed economically because of the loss of the treasuries or whatever. China, what they've been doing, they used to have like something like $1.3 trillion of U.S. debt. Now they're down to about 800 billion, something like that. So what they're doing is de-dollarizing really slowly. They're probably taking 30 to 50 years to do this. Why? This is why Chinese are buying so much gold, is so that when the United States collapse, they're not holding any of the debt. Right? That's why China takes a lot of the U.S. debt, and look at the bonds like investment. It's basically kind of like backing a currency, right? So, and there is no real global deal on this. After the Bretton Woods thing, after World War II, America just kind of became the default, global understanding that they're the world's reserve currency. So there's nothing saying that the Americans are locked into that. It just means it's become so commonplace that you can't de-dollarize easily. So in other words, what do you got to do? Well, you got to diversify your trade. Our guy's doing that. You've got to look outside the United States for new partners, right? European countries are doing that. You have to basically balance your budget. Nobody's doing that. Carney's plan, if it works, maybe we could see a balanced budget in 10 years. I'll take it. I'd love to see it in 4 years. I'll take it. But you have to reinvest in your own country so that when you're stuck holding the bag, that there's something in the bag. You know what I mean? That you can actually be self-reliant. And many countries cannot be self-reliant. So they either have to find a way to put everybody to work. Like these smaller economies, say like Iceland or something like that. Like Iceland versus Jamaica. Okay, Jamaica is about 2 million people. Iceland's about 300 to 5.5 million people, right? And Iceland's one of the smallest countries in the world. Now, basically, Jamaica survives on tourism and pretty much tourism alone. They don't really have anything else, right? Without tourism, they're fucked. Iceland has industries. They have geothermal energy, meaning they use volcanic energy to power their economy, power their country, right? It's a phenomenal system they got. Kind of terrifying to think that you're basically sitting on top of a volcano, but the islands are basically a volcano. But like other than that, they're reaping the benefit of just having this thermal energy. But their economy is mainly like a fisherman economy. Same thing like Greenland, stuff like that. But it doesn't mean they have to be completely chopped out of the world and not 100% self-reliant. They could still have all the modern amenities, but they have to be smarter about it. The Swedes are kind of like this. Like the Nordic models like this. Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Norway, where they do a lot of highly advanced technologies, right? Even if they don't have every resource in the world, large resources. Ireland can do this as well, but Ireland has used tourism. Ireland is used right now. What Ireland's doing is basically becoming a tech hub, right? So unfortunately, it's like Apple and Google and stuff like that. But they've got stuff that they can do. The problem is they don't own it, right? Canada is somewhere in the middle as a mid power, where we do have anything the Americans can build, we can build. It's just the scale. Anything China can build, we can build. It's just the scale, right? So the biggest thing holding us back is NAFTA, USMCA, stuff like that, where it's like, again, the fall of the Avro era, where Canada decided to forego its own weapons industry in favor of the Americans. This was a great thing for the Americans. They got brain drain. They ended up with our guys, Avro guys, going to NASA, creating the moon lander, stuff like that. Whether you believe we went to the moon or not, if you do, well, you can thank Canada for that. We put you on the moon. You stole our guys, you fuckers. But that's what happens when you get rid of your high-tech jobs. The Avro era was the most advanced interceptor of its time in a lot of ways, right? It was just, it scared the shit out of everybody. It scared the shit out of the Russians, scared the shit out of the Americans, scared the shit out of, everybody, even the British. They're like, you want to buy some of our old hunters? The French were like, you want to buy some of our Mirages? Like, can they keep up with the Arrow? No. That's why the British ended up with most of our Arrow engines, right? The actual, we had something like 8 or 12 engines that we built, doing different things. Some were built for just brute fucking power, and others were built for more efficiency or whatever. But yeah, that was like what we were capable of doing in 1959. Okay. Medicine. Again, outsourcing all our fucking medicine to India and shit like that. Bad idea when we could do it here and be much, much safer. God knows what kind of pills people are actually getting from India. You know what I mean? They're not like India is not. The United States. Every time we hear all these U.S. politicians going, "Oh, Canada's not a trustworthy partner," blah blah blah, and it's like, and India. No offense to India, but they do a lot of scams, right? So the thing is that Canada can pivot. It takes time. We want microchips, we'll build them. And guess what? We're moving in that direction. It's going to be 10 to 20 years before you see the benefit of it. So the man on the street now that's hurting under the Trudeau policies of just being fucking gutted, okay, yeah, that is the end result of NAFTA, right? That is the end result of that and the beginning results of Trans-Pacific Partnership and USMCA. Now, Trans-Pacific Partnership, I am a huge critique of that thing. I hate it, right? But there is some benefits in it globally, if you want to, whatever. So, like, for example, Denmark and Canadian relationships have been growing like crazy. Finland and Canada have been, like, especially with the shipbuilding stuff. The Americans are in on it too. Donald Trump's trying to make it sound like he's building the icebreakers. No, this has been in the works for like 30 years. Right? It's just we're now getting to the point where we're actually building stuff. Part of the partnership. But again, how much, again, and the thing is, this is the irony of fucking Trump, okay? Trump is going on about how Canada has to pay, we're building icebreakers in Canada, but, Canada wants them, they're going to have to pay for them. Okay, yes, but you do realize it's a Canadian company building your icebreakers in Texas. You do realize that shipyard is a Canadian shipyard? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. The economy's intertwined. It's like, oh, yeah, you're using Canadian tech to build those fucking ships. We're using Finnish tech to build these ships. You know, again, Trump, don't take it. Even if you're the biggest Trump supporter, like, I mean, the guy's just fucking lies. He's a faggot. I swear to God. I can't stand the guy now. And he had so much potential to be the good guy, you know. But again, rug pull, rug pull, rug. Like they always betray us, don't they? But anyway, the point I'm getting at is that we're in a situation where, you know, like Canada has options. It's just they're not easy options, but they're necessary, right? And Trump is not happy, and the Trump administration is not happy that Canada is pivoting. They are not. Why? Because it's costing them American jobs very early on in the game, right? And they're not getting the wins over Canada that they thought. The numbers are there. Now, can they pull the plug on the Canadian economy? Sure, if they want to commit suicide. Yeah, but we only do 2% trade with the with Canada. That's just a rounding error. Okay, look at what that rounding error encompasses. Probably 85% of the trade that we are still doing with the United States is junk we can get elsewhere. So that's not, it's just we gave America the favoritism of buying their stuff over, you know, everybody else, right? And that's a great deal for America. And it's a good deal for us, right? It's close. Sports you, sports, you know, we get a good deal and you get supported, right? If we cut off all that, that's billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? That can be, that's going to get, it's not, like that trade's not going to go away. It's just going to get diverted. And that's what we're in the process of doing now. So making fun of Carney, and again, the MAGA people and the Maple MAGAs and stuff like that that are like, oh, look, Carney's, oh yeah, he's doing a trade deal with Saudi Arabia. Oh, he's doing a trade deal with Qatar. Oh, he's doing a trade deal with China and stuff like that. Oh, the EU and stuff. And like they're critiquing it as if it's a bad thing. I'm like, you know, and then it's like, okay, well, he's doing all this trade, but do you really think you're going to replace the U.S. economy? I don't think so. I'm like, but we've already replaced like almost 30% of our trade. And right now, here's the thing. That's just extra trade for us. We're down by like about 15.5% trade with the United States. That has been lost, right? Sure. So that's American job losses and some Canadian job losses. But we're booming in other sectors, particularly in tourism, because a lot of people around the world would rather come to, vacation in Canada than the United States right now because, again, year after year, your tourism industry is dead within 4 years, almost across the board. Yeah, you got some local tourism. There'll always be that. You might have maybe about 10 or 15% of the tourism you have pre-Trump. You know what I mean? That's going to be millions of job losses. And they're not coming back. They're not coming back. This is the thing. Like, again, every time you hear that, oh, we're winning by these cheerleaders, it's like, okay, look deeper, please. Look, you guys know, look, I was advocating for Trump to get elected, right? But I told you right after he got elected, well, congratulations. Yes, have fun making fun of all these leftists melting down on TikTok, but careful what you wish for. Sorry to inform you, but now I've got data that's telling me Trump is about to betray every single person that voted for him. And he did. And he's betrayed America. What I didn't expect was him to like basically betray all of Canada, all of Greenland, all of Europe, all of Asia, like everybody in the fucking world. I wasn't expecting that. I knew he was going to fuck his own people over, but I think he was going to like just completely fucking detonate the fucking hand grenade in the submarine. Holy shit. Like, it's like, the guy's fucking insane. And with no benefit. No benefit. If it was a gamble, it failed. Canada was supposed to fold right at day one. You could blame Trudeau, and you would be correct. Trudeau didn't fold. And Trudeau didn't have to give in to Trump. He only have to wait. He knew he was going to lose the election anyway. Right? He figured, he's like, okay, this is probably what Trudeau was thinking. Okay, my own party's outing me. Carney, nobody likes Carney. They'll give it to, so he can have the problem. Pierre's almost got in the bag. Like, he's going to win. We'll let the Conservatives look bad under the Trump administration and whatever, and then we'll take power in the next election. But then somehow fucktard Trump went and advocated against Pierre or against Carney and started advocating for Pierre, which was like fucking the kiss of fucking death. And everybody, Pierre was like that close to, like he was going to, it was like fucking like going to be like an 80% landslide for fucking Pierre. And because he got endorsed by Donald Trump, i.e., Donald Trump interfering with our elections, and then you have the U.S. ambassador having the gall to say, "Oh well, putting out a commercial is interfering with our elections." Well, maybe you should tell that to your fucking orange-headed fucking prick there. Yeah, he fucked us over big time. But then maybe that's the fucking over we needed because Carney's looking at it like, well, I can utilize the fuck Trump economy to make trade deals and utilize the hatred for Trump to get people on my side for my thing. And all I have to do is steal about half of Pierre Poilievre's thing, and that'll keep my investors happy. Yeah, fuck, let's do it. Like again, it's like you couldn't have made it easier for Carney if you wanted, right? Again, if the best we get out of Carney is trade deals and lots of trade deals, and more sovereignty, like I'm sure we're always going to have trade with the United States unless they pull the war trade, like if they play the war card on us and actually go to war with us, which again right now because of the trade deal with China, trust me, the Trump administration is really pissed about that. They are super pissed about that. I'm concerned about it in the sense that I don't want to move closer to China, but it's a massive playing card against the United States, meaning you don't have the leverage over Canada that you think. Yes, okay, ships have to cross the ocean to get the goods and service here instead of trucks coming across or trains coming across the border. Yes, it's a little inconvenient. Not gonna lie. Everybody know it, but at the end of the day, it's lost business for America, gained business for. Look, Lutnick's out there going, does Canada really think China is going to open its economy to them? No, nobody thinks that. China, no. That's not the point of the trade deal. And if you looked at the fucking trade deal that Carney made and the deals that he made, basically you sort of kind of, easing the balance. Okay, the EV thing is a good idea, is a bad idea. It's limited. Yes, it's a foothold for China. I don't like it. But the canola farmers are now saved again. And it's not really going to hurt the auto industry that much in Ontario. Oh, by the way, Doug Ford coming out in favor of gun owners. Good on him. So far, quite a few provinces are telling the federal government to fuck off with this gun ban thing. And again, the more you look at the gun ban thing, it's such a fucking failure so far. And hopefully, but again, I know they're going to strike a strong arm. So, okay, well, we're going to take away your gun license, your driver's license. And again, they're going to strong arm people or whatever. But again, to do that would be a nightmare for the Carney administration. Will he pull that button, press that button, just to keep his base happy? I don't know. I don't think so, because he doesn't care about his base. He cares about the stakeholder capitalists the same way Trump does. It's just Trump only cares about Israel, right? So he's got to keep the Israeli guys happy. Where Carney doesn't care about where they're from as long as they're making them money, right? Again, mob bosses fighting, right? So we'll see where this plays out to. I know I'm going on a bit long now, and I don't have much more time down here. I got to go and do some shoveling. Fortunately, there's a funeral tomorrow, and I got to make sure the sidewalk is cleared for the funeral procession. Look, guys, I understand. Okay, Trump was supposed to be the good guy. You guys don't want to hear me bitching about this guy on a daily basis, and I'm sorry I have to. I wish it wasn't that way. But what I'm telling you is that if you're an American, you have to understand Trump has got you in a very dangerous situation. You have the signaling that Canada is going to be mobilizing its military against the United States, even if this is in a defensive posture only. That is a breach of trust that's, again, going to last 30 years, 50. No Canadian is ever going to trust the American. It doesn't matter even if Trump doesn't make it to the end of the year. I don't think he's going to. I'm not making any threats, but I'm pretty sure if he keeps going the way he is, if he's not taken out by the U.S. military, he'll be taken out by probably a MAGA veteran, just because of the betrayal. It's going to be some guy, with PTSD or somebody that he can't get the health care because of the Trump administration fucking everything up. And again, the stuff that Trump could have instead of what would you have rather had? Okay, the removal of Maduro or more funding to Veterans Affairs? Would you rather had the raid on Iran or keeping your healthcare coverage coming in so your government wouldn't shut down? What would you have rather had? You know what I mean? It's, there is an American mentality out there of, any sort of help from the government is socialism. Okay, well, when you need help, you need help. Okay, and yes, some socialism is required to do this. Okay, but this hyper individualistic, capitalist, libertarianism, I understand where it comes from, but it's such a bad ideology. It's not balanced. You can have social programs even if you're a conservative. It's just they got the conservative types down there convinced that no government is good. You know what I mean? It's if you want to be conquered by other countries, don't have borders, don't have a government. You know what I mean? Hearing libertarians go, well, we should just do away with all tariffs altogether and get rid of free market capitalism. Well, clearly you're not America first, because you'll never outcompete China or India as labor, right? You'll lose every time to the third world. You know what I mean? And again, that's the capitalist mindset. Oh, just got to make it cheaper. At some point, you have to pay people. You know what I mean? You just have to fucking pay people. We're already competitive enough. You know what I mean? Cheapest stuff, lowest bidder, everyday low prices leads to everyday low wages. I've been saying this for years. At some point, we have to do a little bit of protectionism, maybe now a little bit more. We have to build shit in our countries, agreed. But Trump is not doing that. Maybe he's throwing a couple of bucks here, a couple of bucks there. But he's not focused on, look, we're going to do trade, we're going to do all this, but we're going to, reinvest in the United States big time, not just a few Fortune 500 companies, but we're going to help small businesses. We're going to, do austerity. You know what I mean? We're going to do stimulus, but we're going to do austerity. We're going to shrink the government so that we can balance our budget once and for all. And then we can, end the wars, get rid of the foreign aid, give it back to tax breaks and social benefits. You could do these things, but he chooses not to. Why? Because Israel said so. And it's as simple as that. It's not really that complex. Most of the time, what you hear Trump say, it's just as a whim on them. It's not a 5D chess plan that's well thought out. It's hey, if I say this and scare people, they'll do what I want. And when people say, fuck you, make me, it backfires. And it hurts Americans every time. More and more Americans on the right are figuring it out. They're like, okay, this guy's not a conservative. He's a globalist. He's not even a globalist. He's America first. Anybody out there cheerleading that, oh, look at how America is sticking it to the World Economic Forum. Well, number one, you're at the World Economic Forum. That's the biggest fucking red flag right there. It's oh, they're really against you. Yeah, but you're there. Trump didn't say, what, I'm going to save a shit ton of money by getting out of the World Economic Forum and the Davos stuff. I'm going to save a shit ton of money about getting out of the UN and maybe NATO. Fine. You get rid of those things, you save billions of dollars. That'd be billions of dollars back to the American people. But no, you're still in there. And then, of course, this whole fucking Trump scam that he's got going on for the Trump peace thing, which Canada, you now can't be a part of it because whatever. Carney said so. Again, Trump always acts like a 2-year-old in response to Carney. It's funny. But Carney already knows he's got the upper hand here. He knows he's got a lot of trouble, a lot of problems to deal with. There's no doubt that. And again, will we make it? I don't know. Will we outrun the collapse of the Trump economy? I don't know. But Carney knows there's no deal to be made. He's told you that, maybe a bit cryptically, but pretty much almost in plain language, that look, if the Americans want a natural deal, they'll come to us with something serious. We're ready and waiting, and this is Carney's words. We're ready and waiting when they are. Okay. So you say that, he's just saying that. Okay, fine. But there's, policies drafted up to meet any concerns, make a deal, whatever. But Carney's also said it. We're going to do what we can get away with now. meaning we're going to get the trade deals that we can get now, the low-hanging fruit, just to get the GDP numbers up. Because he goes, we have to grow our economy. There's no way out of this other than growing our economy. And that he's correct. It wouldn't matter who said that. That's correct. If and I'm not one of these guys that GDP numbers are the solution to everything. You could have low GDP numbers and a better quality of life. In fact, usually countries with really outrageously high GDP numbers, it's usually just because the Fortune 500s are making more. And again, like every report you get, the world elites are like their portfolio is just like astronomically jumping ahead while everybody else is getting ripped. How are these people getting so rich when everything's so bad for everybody else with the inflation? Simple. They're making money off of it. It's the ultimate betrayal, right? The stock market should be fucking illegal. Futures contracts should be illegal. Selling debt bonds should be illegal. It's the Ponzi scheme. It's bad. It's just so bad, right? But what I'm telling you is you got to prepare for what's coming, what we're in. We're in it. The only way out is through. The countries that are going to fare out are the countries that cooperate. Even if you don't like all these countries that you have to do business with, but basically the rest of the world can make up the business that we're going to lose from the United States here in Canada. And Carney knows this. It's just, he's got to do this within 4 years, which he's probably, he might do it in 3 years. At the rate we're going, if we're already replaced about 24 to 30% of U.S. trade, you know what I mean? And again, Lutnick's sitting there saying that's a nothing burger. That's fucking huge. If the United States increased its trade by 24 to 30%, is that good or bad? Everybody would be giving Trump reigning endorsement. But Carney, because he's a liberal, and because of what Justin Trudeau's done to us for the past 10 years, nobody trusts any of the government, and rightfully so. There's no trustworthy government anywhere in the world. But is Carney making the right place? He seems to be making the right place. So at the beginning of the year, I was saying we're going to get some accidental wins from the fuck Trump economy, and we did. Now they're not accidental. This is policy. These are plans. These are actual trade deals. Do these trade deals benefit you overnight or in 2 weeks? No. They take years to really get going. It's a slow train to get going. Once it gets momentum, no problem. So every year going forward under the Carneys, and all these people saying, that's it. We're going to be at an election next month. No. The majority of Canadians are okay with what Carney's doing, or they're indifferent, or they don't care. You know what I mean? There's, Carney hasn't, he's kind of like Harper, where he's kind of staying under he's a little louder than what Harper was. There's no doubt about that. But he's basically staying under the radar in the sense of that he's says what he needs to say to pander to the base and to signal that, to the fuck Trump economy. He does that. But other than that, he kind of stays out of the way and just goes and does stuff, right? That's what Harper did. Harper rarely did interviews because he knew the CBC was just so tainted. And the best best offense was the defense. Just don't engage. So when the CBC wanted to ask Harper about abortion, he never talked about it. Why? Because it's how you lose elections, right? And I think Carney learned a lot from Harper, even if they don't see eye to eye. But the fact that Harper, who fired Carney, is saying that, maybe reluctantly, but saying, no, what Carney's doing is the right thing. When the best prime minister Canada's ever had, whether you liked him or didn't like him, just that's where the bar was set overall, was Stephen Harper. If he's saying Carney's on the right track, maybe we have to put our partisans aside and say, okay, yes, we're not going to feel the benefits of this today, but we are going to be much more shielded and much better off when we're, moving away from the United States' volatility. Now, if you're an American watching this, it's the opposite. It's that 2% trade. If you lose that 2% trade with Canada, you lose 20 to 40% of your economy overnight. Why? Because hydro, gas, oil, fertilizer. These are the big things. You might be able to find aluminum and stuff like that. And, if the U.S. has to steal, if the U.S. has to steal resources around the world, again, it doesn't work. They tried it in Iraq. We're going to take all the oil and get rich off of it. They tried it in Syria. We're going to take all that oil and get rich off it. All the minerals, in Iraq and Afghanistan. We're going to get out. You can't mine there. It's too fucking volatile. You're going to be shot at by fucking jihadis all day. You know what I mean? Like nobody's going to go in there and mine the place. Ukraine, oh yeah, we're going to get all these great mineral deals with Ukraine. All the Trump cheerleaders out there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you do realize those minerals are under Russian feet right now, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, yeah, you ain't getting fucking shit out of the Ukraine. The Ukraine's broken. It's at war. They're not going to fucking pay you a cent. You know what I mean? Best thing to do. And Trump had the easy out. Like it'd be the Ukraine thing would be done already. No, he had to weasel his way back. Like, what the fuck was he thinking? Like it's just, it's so frustrating. It's Europe's war, it's their problem or whatever, but we have to stop the Russians in the Arctic. Okay, either you want to stop the Russians or you don't want to stop the Russians. Make up your fucking mind, because, you know what I mean? Like, I hate neocons. I hate them with a passion. They're such fucking faggot cocksuckers. Anyway, sorry for the language, but it's just, even I get nerved up sometimes. I try not to take everything personally and whatever, but I do like to rant, so. And my goal isn't to get everybody's blood pressure up, but how could it not, right? The thing is, like, look, guys, it does come down to what I've been saying all along. None of these guys are on our side. They're all bad guys. It's just which mob boss is better than the other one, or the one the least likely to get us killed. That's really what it's coming down to. That's why my number one New Year's resolution for 2026 is don't die. Just don't die. There's so many ways this world is going to kill you right now. And it's just, yeah. February is going to be a crazy month. We'll see okay, Trump, okay, mark this. Okay, I'm not going to do anything to Greenland. I was just kidding, whatever. I just needed you to do this and get my deal and whatever. And again, this deal is pretty much a deal you already had. And the Greenlanders who are telling you that, yeah, we're okay with working on this deal, even with all the crazy stuff going on. Yeah, we'll work on this deal with it. The Greenlanders have always been cooperative. It's Trump that went stupid. There was no reason for any of it. But 4D chess plan. No, what Trump was doing was trying to scare the Greenlanders into surrendering the island to him. He thought that would work, but they said, fuck you, make me. We don't care if we're unarmed civilians or not. You're not having it. Over our dead bodies. You know what I mean? And hats off to the Greenlandic people for saying that. They said, look, what's going on between Greenland and Denmark is between them. If anything, hopefully it made their relationship stronger. I mean, you never know. Greenland might still, and when Trump goes on, well, Greenland doesn't even have its own military. It only has dog sleds. Yeah, but understand those dog sleds can go places where four-wheelers, snowmobiles, and tanks get stuck. Again, and telling the people in the Arctic that they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. People that fucking live there. Yeah, you know what the Canadian military trains in the Arctic? You know where they get a lot of their skills? From the Inuit. You know what I mean? Why? Because they've been up there thousands of years without any modernity whatsoever. They know how to fucking survive up there, right? And you're going to tell these people that they're doing it wrong in their own island. Yeah. That's arrogance. And this idea, they don't have a military. Well, yeah, they do. It's called NATO. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they don't have a standing domestic military, but the Danish military is there. Again, it's a territory. Like, it's. But yeah, no, Trump definitely had to backtrack on this. I think his biggest concern is within his own house of all these generals out there signaling that they're not going to follow unlawful orders. They're going to stand in resolve with NATO. That sounds like a mutiny, if you ask me. You've got, again, maybe 99% of U.S. soldiers and generals will just follow any order. They tend to do it anyway. I mean, look, clearly this raid was an act of war on Venezuela and was illegal. It had no congressional approval. Anything like that. It was completely illegal. Where's the fuck? It's the same. Like, why are the George Bush administration still walking free, with all their life? Again, they never go to jail, right? Because we don't have brave law enforcement military. We just have all these, just following orders, keeping my paycheck cowards, right? It's annoying, but that is the historical norm. They'll just do whatever they're told. So when the National Guard's told to open fire on the citizenry, they're not going to care who the citizenry is. If it's radical leftists and the right cheers it, okay, fine. Just wait till they're going to use that on you. Why? Because the guys will be there with, oh, I got PTSD. I was just following orders. Yeah, well, how about you fucking do the right thing now? Right? Maybe that is what's happening behind closed doors. And the Trump administration is like, hey, we're about to have our own fucking coup here if we keep doing this, right? Um, Again, it's the movie Smoking Aces mixed with Moon Over Parador. Trump's in the Moon Over Parador, the Raul Julian part, just threatening everybody. And you've got basically, like a coup, kind of being signaled that people might throw Trump under the bus. Look, Trump is a dead man one way or the other at this point. Either he's going to go to prison after the next election, because unlike usually nobody ever impeaches the last president, and let alone put them in jail or whatever, right? That's kind of the understood rule from president to president. No matter what crimes you commit, we won't go after your administration after, right? Remember with Hillary, lock her up? Yeah, that was never going to happen. But it was a good show. People believed it. It should have happened, but it didn't. But it's worse than that. This time, yes, when the Democrats get in, they're going to not only lock up the entire Trump administration in retaliation, but they're going to basically, it's bullshit. It's going to be the Bolshevik Revolution 2.0. They are going to. This is the 2028 is when they put people up against the wall and death ditches. They will kill anybody right wing that they can legally get away with. There'll be the death penalty for treason. There's going to be like Steve Bannon, he's dead. Like Lutnick, he's dead. I mean, the whole Trump administration, half of them are going to be put on death row. You just watch. You don't believe me, I know, but it's like, Reg, it's never going to get that bad. How many times do we have to go through this? Again, what's my track record, guys? Why does it always play? Again, you got to look at what's happening versus not what they say, but what they do, right? And yes, the left is ready to murder anybody in the name of white supremacy or hate speech or Nazis or what, they're insane, right? And they are going to be swung so far to the left, you'll have to feed them with a slingshot, right? And the terrifying idea is that we can't stop it now. We can't stop it. Now, if we have a military coup, again, once your country turns into a banana republic, people are going to banana republic, right? And that's about what's about to happen to the States. It's going to be a very, very dangerous world after that. Definitely going to be dangerous during. So if you're an American, you better be stockpiling anything on the shelf right now, no matter what the inflation is at, it's on sale. If it's on the shelf, it's on sale. Because unobtainium is going to be the wave of the future for the Americans. And most people around the world, not just them. You know what I mean? Trump has got you in a really, really bad situation. There's no 4D chess plan, no Q in the Patriots. That stuff is bullshit. No, he's not sticking it to the EU and the World Economic Forum. You have to look at the policies. The Trump's backtrack on the tariffs is because the EU was going to pull the nuclear option of their, and Macron was going to do this. He's like, oh no, well, we're going to, come up with or invoke the anti-coercion EU laws. That would fucking be disastrous against the Trump administration. It would be disastrous for, it's a nuclear option. Yeah, it would hurt Europeans big time as well. Hurt us Canadians, it hurt everybody, right? But basically by trying to bribe the Greenlanders, by threatening to bully them into surrendering and handing over the island, whatever. And you got Trump over, at the World Economic Forum kind of whining how, give me the island, basically is what he's saying, right? He's like, well, you're going to give it to me because we need it, blah, blah, blah. Give me my toys, the man is like, it's unbelievable. Like, how did he get that way? You know what I mean? And at best, Trump stands down probably by about July, August, whatever. But right after that, careful what you wish for. Once you go to the next election, it's just going to be if there is another election, hard to say. It's going to be an absolute disaster. The left is going to be so violent. They're violent now. I mean, even under the Trump administration, like half the stuff that the left is doing, like the hate speech laws and stuff like that, Trump is for. You know what I mean? Well, because Israel said so, right? The Jews have said we need more hate speech laws and anti-Semitism laws and stuff like that. And Trump's like, okay. I mean, it was Trump that appointed what is it? The hate speech czar, which was a devout Zionist. This whole like again, Trump is just a Zionist. He's an evangelical Zionist. Sure, he doesn't go to church every Sunday, but if you listen to once you figure it out, you figure it out. He's an end times prophecy guy. That's the scary part. So the only question is, what does a U.S. military coup look like? And if the U.S. military had help from the Maduro industry, you'd say, okay, well, that'd never happen here. Well, that's what I get every time, and then usually it happens exactly how I say. But when the Trump administration took out Maduro, right, you have to understand that was with the help of the Venezuelan administration, right? So what does it look like in the United States if the CIA and the military-industrial complex say, okay, Trump is just too far gone, we have to get him out of there? Will J.D. Vance become, the president and just say, okay, well, you stay in line with what we want? It doesn't really matter who goes into the number 2 spot, but it could look like that. It could look like Trump being basically raided by his own guys and brought to international courts. Could you imagine Trump being sentenced to death in The Hague? Could you imagine that? That would be crazy. At the blessing of the U.S. military. Could you imagine that? That would be something, wow, definitely one for the history books. Interesting times. Interesting times. All right, anyway, I'm going to wrap that up because I guess that's enough ranting and raving. But guys, just keep preparing. I don't care if you agree with me, disagree with me. Look, things are going to get so much rougher, so much worse. And it's all starting, we've been in it for a long, long time, for decades, but it's really starting to boil up a lot more, right? And it's going to be like that every month this year, just worse and worse and worse, because that's the moves that are being made. Like Trump is like dismissing, you can look at it as Trump just dismissing Canada's new trade deals, fine, or you could look at it as those new trade deals are lost U.S. business. I think that's a better way to look at it for the Americans because every time we get a new trade deal, that's trade we're not doing with you that we used to favor. And this idea, well, we're just going to destroy your country and then you'll have no business. But then you're talking about a 30-year war that would end up with about 250 million Americans dead and probably about 30 million Canadians dead. Is that what you want? You know what I mean? Like for what? For what? It's not worth it. Not worth it. Yeah. So again, look at how these things play out. I'm usually pretty on the ball. Do I get things wrong? Yeah. But look, listen to the military guys at the top. Yeah, some of them are all gung ho for fucking invading anywhere because they're they're just fucking evil cocksuckers, Zionist cocksuckers. But there's a lot of them that are saying no, we need rule of law, we need sanity, whatever. We need this across the entire system, but at this point, can it be saved? I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, there we go. Have yourselves a good Friday. Be safe. Do things. Spend quality time with your family, friends. Don't be, get away from the political stuff a bit too. I know I enjoy it, whatever. I enjoy it. It's morbid. A morbid curiosity or whatever to, cover all this doom and stuff like that. But at one point, it's not going to be fun. Really not going to be fun. You know what I mean? The lights are going to go out at some point. The internet, for sure. Whether AI just kind of dominates the internet, and that's it for YouTubers and so that, or just the censorship, or just the internet kill switch. What lights are going to go out at some point, guys. Be prepared until that time. All right. Anyway, have yourselves a good day.